Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. With me today is a very special guest, the man who streams too much. The man, the man who's been streaming for hours and hours and has agreed to come on for yet a couple more, Mr. Joe Nierman of Good Lawgic.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, buddy. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you.
Yeah. Not for lack of wanting, but
get in line. I got a whole bunch of people who want me to return their calls.
Yeah, no. Now you got 165, 232 subs, so you're just you're too pop. Before, when you were only at 164.7, then right. I was able to get a hold of you, but now 165 too.
Look, I'm pretty important now. I'm pretty important.
It was the thing we used to say. I'm kind of a big deal. So
the only thing you're missing in that is I would never say I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, well, I feel remiss in that I haven't been joining your streams and as like a viewer of late.
How dare you?
Yeah, so I don't know what you've been up to. I assume that it's the same old for you, but until last night when I was like, no, dude, you don't want to go through all 79 pages, dude, trust me, it's 79 pages on this Cosby thing. You do not, and so much of it is so boring.
It's all it was all just procedural background. Like they eventually they spent like 20 pages getting to the argument on the underlying agreement, which is I'm sure super duper interesting, but I did not have the patience to read that.
I speculated that the court was paid by the word.
Yeah, so. I don't understand why this took 79 pages to get through.
Right, it should have been 25.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we knew the procedural background. The factual background was barely relevant for the actual consideration of the issue that they decided. The factual background is barely relevant at all, and not a super in-depth plumbing needed. Right? We didn't need Roto-Rooter on that one, and we just had to get some basic info about this agreement. They could have focused.
There's one thing that was not mentioned in the decision, which I don't know if you saw. I read this online, which means obviously I saw on the internet. It must be true.
That's true.
Yeah. And maybe that whether you can verify that this is true or not. If it is true, I think it's highly significant. And that is, how they allowed those character witnesses to come in?
As prior bad act witnesses.
Prior bad act and whatever. I read that they were not brought in on the initial case. Everyone had closed. The jury deadlocked. And instead of having a mistrial when the jury deadlocked, the judge said, hey, let's bring in these 5 witnesses here so that they can help you figure out exactly which way you should go, as if they're ever going to exonerate at that point.
That is the most nonsensical. Like I believe,
and that makes that takes egregiousness and makes it like whoop, like
that can't have happened. Worse. It can't have happened. I bet it did, but it can't have happened. Because
that's when I was first reading up on the case and what happened at the trial level. That was the report that I read, and it's so egregious. Your audience might not appreciate the reason it's so egregious is because which way you're pushing the jury, and it's also almost a signal to the jury that's deadlocked that hey, the judge thinks that this is what's going to push us over. What does the judge think we should be doing? It's almost like telling the jury, you better find him guilty because look at all this. If you don't think he's guilty for this, here's the other 5 women who he date raped in the past, or we're going to make you think he probably date raped in the past, even though it's never been proven before. So, assuming that is true, which again, I read it on the internet, so it means it's 98% likely true. So that just takes it so much worse. You think that cannot be true? I'm now really curious to go find my source again.
Joe, there are rules. Now, I say it can't be true because it's not supposed to be true.
Okay.
Not that it actually can't be true, but like
Right.
it offends my sensibilities, my delicate lawyer sensibilities so much that cannot be what happened. But of course, judges do this stuff, right? Like this is why there's an appeals court, and it should, in criminal cases, we should never be saying, "Well, you have appeals." that should never
Yes.
be
Right.
the answer, and it often is.
Maybe I'm
often
wrong.
is.
Maybe I'm wrong. Well, you'll find out about that in 3 years, whether I'm
Yeah.
wrong today.
Right. After you've been in prison for 3 years and you now have tattoos and a boyfriend, you will
Although
find out if I was right.
I mean, what's interesting is this: if you look at it from an ethical perspective, I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy's a date rapist. I'm pretty sure. If you look at it as far as like the interest, as far as how humanity was served, yes, it offends my notions as a lawyer and as American that he didn't get a fair trial. But as far as what he probably deserved in the grander scheme of things, a couple of years in prison, which, let's face it was Bill Cosby. It was probably a country club prison. It was not like he's sitting there, like asking Bubba whether he has to, like, do I have to sleep on the bottom again, Bubba? And, so it's not like he was in that.
Tonight I'm your blanket.
That's not what, he's not in Oz. That's not where he was. So
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he's I have a counterpoint. Have you seen the pictures of the accusers?
No, I haven't.
Well, that's my counterpoint right there.
Really?
Is
that Bubba would fit in really well with the accusers.
I mean, there's a pattern here. There's a pattern in a lot of the Me Too cases.
That's interesting because they said, how the women were all, they describe them as young and fit.
Young and fit. I don't know, man. I don't.
Maybe by fit they meant that their face was banging against the treadmill. Like I don't.
Maybe they fit into the room they were in, or they fit into like an SUV. I don't know. I don't know what the court means by fit. Okay, I can use fit in a lot of different ways.
So Drex would call them German Shepherds, you're saying?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that is an entirely skin color and gender-based assessment by Drexel, and it applies universally. But
okay.
But that being said, yeah. Well, who do you think sent me the pictures?
And he probably was thinking, like, dude, you're Bill Cosby. You're Bill Cosby. Like why that? Of all the things, if you're gonna go down this road, and you probably can get, like, better company. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's always the question: is how, I mean, can't you do better?
You're Dr. Huxtable.
We got to ask that of Eddie Murphy, though, right? Like, back when he had his troubles, it was like, Eddie, I mean, come on. I mean, really?
Well, the poster child for that, was, who's that guy? Hugh Grant? Was that his name?
Yeah.
The one who's like, his like real life wife was like supermodel. She was like the most popular. She was in the first. She was in the first. Austin Powers film. What was her name?
Wasn't it Elizabeth Hurley, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth Hurley. Yeah, he's married to Elizabeth Hurley, and apparently he got busted with a woman who was fit the way, fit in an SUV.
Just barely.
Probably didn't. Yeah, she wasn't fit. So
yeah, and Elizabeth Hurley is still a knockout.
Yeah,
like she is still gorgeous. Actually, you can find a bunch of people complaining about how good she looks. On Twitter. That's how you know you're actually hot. Is when women are like, you know what, Elizabeth Hurley needs to stop being pretty.
Yeah. So that's why I tried prodding you along last night when I saw that. I was like, dude, this guy's reading page after page here. He's gonna be doing this for like the next 6 weeks. He's gonna be reading through this stupid decision.
I was skimming through trying to find the interesting stuff on the witnesses, because this is the question, right? Like the Pennsylvania court leaves it unresolved. The U.S. Supreme Court needs to step in and clarify at some point the rules of evidence on prior bad acts witnesses, because nowadays, we're seeing this in more and more places where it's like, we'll just parade a whole bunch of people in here to talk about all the prior bad acts to establish a pattern. It's like, but the pattern is not supposed to show that there's a likelihood that they did the same thing here.
Right. It's just like
it's supposed
modus
to show
operandi.
Yeah, it's to show the MO that they're certain it was this person because it fits the MO. It's like when you're building a profile. That's what you're supposed to do. That you're certain of the identity. And it's usually based on prior bad acts that have some corroboration to them, like convictions. Like we're gonna pull up some convictions where the evidence has been weighed and analyzed and found that, you know, we've got this person who has done this exact same thing in the past, and that's why we think it's them. That's the evidence there. Not they've done this same thing in the past, so they must have done it now. And also the weighing and the measuring of that evidence is critical, because right now what they did to Cosby, they brought in 5 women whose claims have never been tested.
And they're 30 years old, these claims.
Right.
And so how are you going to refute it? Like how... it was so aggravating.
Yeah.
So I mean, the court did a great job in letting him free. I mean, that's reality.
By 1 vote.
Yeah.
A split decision right down the middle, 4-3 in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Cosby almost is still in prison. Speaking of split votes, the topic tonight, we're going to talk about some Supreme Court stuff, what they've been up to lately. And then whatever else, you know, I mean, there's a lot going on in the world. You just spent a couple hours talking about Rudy Giuliani. And I only caught a couple minutes of the chat. I'd been working all day, and then it was time for me to get a run in, and I regret very much going for a run rather than sitting down and listening to the chat, because it was a horrible run. I feel terrible from it. But
yeah, no, it was, for those of you who don't know what Nick's referring to, I had a debate with Robert Barnes this evening that ran for like an hour and 45 minutes and then Viva Fry jumped in the end and tried tag teaming me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And he came in hot also. He came in like, Joe, what about this situation? And then how do you call it uncontroverted evidence? And there was never a trial. He never had a chance for discovery. And I'm like, dude, first when it came in, I was like, bring it on. Bring it.
And then you're like, whoa. I apologize, Canadian. Turn your Canadian rage against your oppressive government down.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Can we talk about the evolution of Viva Fry for a moment? Because literally 3 months ago, this guy would be like, okay, you know, I'm sorry, but some people might say that this lockdown that's been going on for 13 months is maybe some people might think, I don't want to be controversial, it might be, you know, a little bit more excessive than what we need. And now the dude is like, they hate all of us. I can't believe, what are they doing here? This country is going out of their mind. He's freaking out every night, and I love it.
Tyranny is the ultimate black pill.
Yes, I guess.
He's great.
I guess.
Yeah, no, Viva's fantastic. He's killing it. I think Barnes is rubbing off on him. You know, they've been spending a lot of time together. Obviously, they do they have 2 weekly shows now, and both of them are very good. So that's
you made it onto a sidebar. That's how I knew you were big time.
Yes, that's right.
Before that, I didn't know. I didn't know. But then I was like, ooh, they're doing a whole retrospective on, like, you know, the childhood of Nick Rekieta and his formative years. And I'm like, wow, okay, I guess he really must be. I didn't know I was. That's when I knew. And ever since then, I think your whole attitude has changed. You become like kind of a little bit snobby ever since then.
The streaming training wheels have finally come off.
You're like,
come off.
Yes, that's what it is. You're basically like, dude, I'm getting interviewed by the people who talked to James O'Keefe. Okay. I don't have time to return your phone calls, Mr. Joe Neuter. What's your name? Nierman. I don't even remember your name anymore.
I'll just call you Joe N-word from now on. That's because I can't remember your last name.
Yes, that'll be my new name, Joe N-word.
There's nothing wrong with this.
I'm gonna become a Chappelle show skit. I'm Joe N-word. It's like they're talking about the N-word family, and that's basically what you're setting me up for.
I'll write horror stories and name my cat after you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. So yeah, they have their 2 shows a week, and clearly Robert is doing a great job in rubbing off on Viva Fry. And he came in hot, and so much so that all this next thing I know, Nate jumped in to side with me. And
he brought Nate. Eric's just throwing those links out like candy.
He really is.
Lawyers. He's like an Atlantic City salesman. He's like, lawyers. You a lawyer?
He's
you
like,
a lawyer?
dude,
Get over here.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. Gather the lawyers around. He sent me a link. He sent
Did
me
he?
a link too.
And he's like, you want in? He's like, he asked you if you wanted in.
I didn't know though until I was already. I mean, I had come back from my run and saw his message. So.
Right.
So I didn't know at the time that he had sent a link. It's funny though that he's sitting there, he's casting lines. The puppet master, Eric Hunley, drawing all the lawyers in.
Yeah, and well, it did become a bit of a slugfest when it was like there was like all 5 of us in there, and like people grabbing the mic and say, "Now you just wait a damn minute here." But what I realized was, and this is something that was novel to me, and I didn't even understand until until all 5 of us had been going at it for like a good 20 minutes. And that is, I didn't realize that New York procedure is unique in certain ways as to what is basic understanding of the law to a New York attorney is not at all basic understanding of the law to a Canadian or even people in your jurisdiction. And I'm curious about how it works in Minnesota, because this was the issue that we ended up, really getting hung up on, and Viva just couldn't even understand it. And that is, if there is an allegation in a complaint, and you do not answer that out, you do not deny that allegation at all, that it is automatically deemed admitted by you. So if you're a defendant, a complaint served on your client, and you're a defendant, and they have a whole series of allegations. Let's say, obviously, if you're involved, it's going to be a tree law case. So they say, and these trees are on this property, and you don't deny that fact, or at least we have a choice of either deny knowledge and information sufficient to form a belief, which is a way of saying I don't know, but I don't want to admit it. And that's another way of preserving your rights, and I'm not admitting it. But if you don't deny it or deny knowledge, in that case, you are deemed to admit it. And now you don't need to prove that in court. It's automatically accepted. This is fact accepted by all parties. And that's why when we're talking about how Giuliani responded to the complaint in the grievance committee, that whatever it is, that if they say, well, there weren't 65,000 dead people who voted in Georgia, and he doesn't deny that, it's deemed that he's admitting that there's no such thing as 65,000 dead people voting in Georgia. So, and that's just the way it would work here in New York, and that's what Giuliani was dealing with. He's dealing with New York courts. He's dealing with their law. I'm wondering, is it the same in Minnesota, first and foremost?
We can do a general denial in an answer that, you can deny everything. But typically you go paragraph by paragraph. You can lump them together if you're going to have several paragraphs in a row that are all denials or all agreements or whatever. But you can also say anything not admitted to expressly herein is denied.
Okay, but let's say you're silent. What if you're silent? Well, is that deemed an admission if you're silent?
I don't know if it is by rule, but by best practice, you need to address every single paragraph. So I couldn't tell you the way I was taught and the way I have dealt with answers in my profession is to always answer every single issue in every paragraph.
Which is how a prudent attorney would address it. It's like, look, if it might be a problem, why not just throw in an extra 6 words? It doesn't matter. So, yeah, but when we explain this to Viva, he's like, how can they adduce that this is? They didn't have a hearing. How can they adduce that this is an admission from him? And we're like, dude, if he's silent on it, it's an admission automatically. It's recognized a fact from the laws in the eyes of the law. It's a fact, whether it's a fact or not. In the eyes of the law, that's now a fact. And now we got to move on to the next thing.
And the only way to get around that maybe would be to file an amended answer acknowledging very quickly that
Right.
you
within like 20 days or something.
Right. So it was brought to your attention that you missed a particular paragraph or a particular facet of a paragraph, and you wanted to clarify the court that that is indeed denied, something like that. But generally speaking, in the failure, your answer is in Minnesota courts, your answer is your opportunity to answer. And if you deem not to answer, you can't later decide to contest the facts.
So that's very similar to what we have. It sounds very similar to us.
You could maybe get leave from the court to address it. Maybe.
Right. But if you never do, it's admitted.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I can't think of why it wouldn't be.
It might not be like that in criminal law, because in criminal law, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. And I'm talking civilly.
Well, in criminal law, you don't file answers in Minnesota.
Oh, okay. I've never done criminal defense, period. So I don't know.
Yeah. So criminal defense, you get your indictment or your criminal complaint or whatever. It's got all the charges against you, and all you do is go in and you issue either a not guilty plea or a guilty plea. You're not addressing any of those things in an answer like you would in a civil case. You may file a pretrial motion, like a motion to dismiss for lack of probable cause or whatever. But in that, you're just going to address the probable cause issues. You never actually file an answer in criminal court in Minnesota. I don't know if they do in any jurisdiction, but I know in Minnesota you don't. And I think it's because you have a Fifth Amendment right against incrimination. Right. And so they can't even compel you to speak to the matters that they talk about.
Which makes sense.
And an answer is sworn testimony, and they cannot force a criminal defendant to testify because that's a violation of their rights. If they choose not to answer, then they get to choose not to answer forever. So that's where I'm guessing that's derived from. But yeah, in civil cases, you don't have such a right. You have to answer and address those complaints. So yeah, it's I thought it was interesting. You know what I wanted you to do though? I just wanted one thing in my entire life, and you didn't do it. I wanted you to call Robert Barnes a simp for Israel. Like that's, I thought that would have been, the cream on the top of this cupcake, right? Like he would.
I thought about saying like, oh yeah, Robert, why don't you say Islamofascism one more time?
No, see, I think that would have been too far. I think that would have been like, cause keeping it friendly. I think if you go the route of the one more time Islamofascism, it almost seems like you're picking on the thing. But I think just saying, you as an Orthodox Jewish person saying, Robert, you kind of sound like a simp for Israel right now, would have been that would have been the knife to cut any tension. That would have been really, really good.
You see, now I was too focused on like, okay, I'm going against Robert Barnes, who's like a freaking encyclopedia of cases. And I will tell you that one of the things I said to him in DM, I was like, dude, if you're planning on citing Supreme, I defer to your knowledge on con law. So if you're planning on citing some First Amendment cases that I never heard of, at least let me know in advance so I can brief them and be prepared to address it properly.
Yeah, you gotta give.
All of a sudden, he's going to be like, well, obviously you're not familiar with Klein versus Hutton, which clearly says that they can't go after a lawyer for his speech. And I'd be like, I never heard of it.
Yeah, you got to disclose your sources at least 5 days ahead of this hearing.
So I can brief it, right? So I can distinguish and try like whatever. So, and he came back to me. He's like, no, just policy, no law, just policy. And he actually stuck to that until I brought up a Supreme Court case like an idiot.
Oh, why would you do that?
Because I was so stupid. It's like I stepped on a landmine, and I don't think most of the viewers realized that I stepped on this landmine because I sort of swerved out at it afterwards. But I was giving justification for the court, and the court said that lawyers have a more abridged freedom of speech than the rest of society. And they cited Gentile versus Nebraska Bar Commission or something like that. And that's a Supreme Court decision. So they said, don't think that like you have the same freedom of speech that most people do. Lawyers have a more limited freedom of speech. And that was a Supreme Court decision, which the First Department in their decision cited as a source as to like why it is that we can scrutinize Giuliani's speech here. And when I brought that up, he's like, yeah, I saw how they brought that up. They didn't understand the first damn thing about Gentile because Gentile actually means this. I never read freaking Gentile. And he's like, if you read Gentile, what you'll see is, so to his credit, he didn't bring that up himself. I brought it up, and he basically did. He used it to like pow, pow, and I was like, oh. And
you're like, hey, what's that Gatling gun over there pointed at me? Maybe you should hook up that belt feed of bullets. Let's do that. No, that's good stuff. No, see, this is, and I don't do debates. I tend to stay away from them. I like to have friendly, banter-filled discussions, and disagreements are fine, but I don't like the debate format because I think it gets, even it looked like from what I saw that you guys had a very cordial debate, and everything, you know, and Eric's a great moderator, so I don't have any worries about that. But
between you and me, he was really nervous about it. He's like, I never moderated a debate before. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. I was like, you'll be fine. You're a natural. Don't worry about it. And
I figured from the short time I was watching, I figured he'd moderated plenty.
Yeah, he was great. He was really great.
I guess, I mean, when you host enough discussions, it's just kind of, it's just like an extension of it. So, but no, he did great. And I mean, I thought from what I saw, everything was cordial, but they're not always cordial. And then the weird thing is, even if they are, sometimes the audience doesn't take them to be cordial. They're like, they make it this really big thing, like you're super married to this position. It's like when I go into a debate, which again I rarely try to do, I go into it with the idea of I am actually willing to be influenced in some way if my position is wrong. I want to go learn something about my position and about their position. Not everybody approaches debates that way.
But that's because you have a brain. That's why. And you're able to critically analyze and not take an offense that like, whoa, this position I formed before I had all the facts or I had all the information or I had a different way of looking at this thing. Now that I have this new information, critical analysis and maturity says that maybe I should reassess my position. But that's not something that you learn in school anymore. So I don't know where you learned that. I assume it's from your very fine parents who I had the privilege of meeting, and they are very fine people.
Yeah, they're decent, I guess. Attorney Tom says, Nick, don't sell yourself short. You're a master debater. That is true. That is true.
Did he put an extra DE in there and should have left that?
Platonic Guardian. I want to address the super chat, and then I've got a couple other ones to read, but I want to address this one because it's right on topic, and I think it's an interesting thing. He says, how does a lawyer not like debating? Let me tell you something about the practice of law. The practice of law is not the same as a debate. Litigation is not a debate. You are not, the rules of debate are very different than litigation. You do not have the same sort of process or flow to it. There is not usually like a back and forth exchange in real time. The litigation is you get your 10 minutes, they get their 10 minutes, and everything is actually argued out by screaming over paper for the most part. Your 10 minutes of debate that you get, or your 10 minutes of argument, because again, it's not a debate. There is no debate here. Your position is the correct one because that's what you are forwarding, and the judge's job or the jury's job is to determine which position is the actual legal and factually correct ones. So you are forwarding the position. There is no give, there is no take. There's no like, well, the prosecution's kind of right here. No, they're not. Right. Not from your perspective, not from your client's perspective. So argument in law and debate are very, very different things with very, very different goals. So I just want to point that out. The reason I don't like debate, though, is because most people on the internet have no interest in actual debate. They want to see something slightly different, because at the end of the day, debates are boring. Debates are boring. Banter is much, much better. That's why Crowder does great debates. He's not actually the best arguer on the planet, but he's really good at dropping good lines on people. He's really good at catching them up in their own words and insecurities. Same thing with Ben Shapiro. Of course, Ben Shapiro, he has an advantage over any debater in the world because he speaks at, well... I
I
was
had
that
to.
was
I had
good.
to.
No, it was
Thank you.
good, but I was going to just say he has a 4-to-1 word advantage on him because of his speaking speed. I mean, that's a bit all.
Right, right. No, but I don't. I mean, yeah. I guess that helps him. I mean, let me ask you this, because I've heard a lot of people. There's been a lot of brushback against Ben Shapiro from people on the right of late, thinking that he's a neocon and that he's, kind of a sellout to YouTube, that he's protected from on high by the left. And he's someone who never gets the platform. He never gets chastised or censored by Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and that he gets away with it all. And people like Mark Dice basically assume that he's in league with the evil big tech powers. And there's even an interview with Susan Waka, or whatever her name is, where she says, someone was asking her, someone was saying, my kid was watching Ben Shapiro, and then just a couple of clicks later, he was on KKK, and how do you allow this on? And the first words out of Susan's mouth, and this is the Susan, was Ben Shapiro's never been deplatformed. And it was like, what? Why would you assume that he's never going to be deplatformed? And people look at it as if there's almost like some sort of agreement that he is the voice of the right, that they are going to allow to say whatever he's going to say, but that he has to, presumably in a tit for tat arrangement, he has to comply and not be as based as he otherwise would be, and he has to hold back from expressing what a real conservative perspective. And I'm wondering what your take is on that.
My take on Ben Shapiro is that he is literally the definition of a neocon, right? He's the youngest conservative ever to have a syndicated column. Like, by the word's definition, he is a neoconservative. As to his positions, I think the reason Ben Shapiro won't be deplatformed is twofold. One, YouTube might have a contract with Daily Wire.
Mm-hmm.
If I put on my tinfoil hat, YouTube has contractual agreements with major news sources, and
Mm-hmm.
Daily Wire may be big enough to be a major news source that has a contract with them. I mean, in the same way that CNN, Fox, and Huffington Post and all these places seem to have lots more. I mean, you can cover the same topic with the same title and the same thumbnail as a Fox News video, and it will get 400 times the views. I mean, it's just going to, because YouTube pushes authentic news content, and I would wager that Daily Wire may be included in that authentic news content. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I have never seen him take a position that is bannable.
Well, and that's the question, is basically, is he self-censoring for the purpose of basically being able to make his millions off of the right without ever saying anything remotely controversial?
I don't think he has to self-censor. I mean, he could just literally be slightly right of center conservative Republican. I mean, he's hard right on a couple issues, but those issues are conservative mainstays that are extremely safe, like life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was never a pro-Trump guy.
Right. That's true.
Never was, and actually became, for a while during the campaign, he was kind of anti-Trump after Corey Lewandowski grabbed his fellow journalists or whatever, person's arm. He said it was a battery. I think it was Corey Lewandowski, wasn't it?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I mean, and she way overplayed that. But at the end of the day, he grabbed her arm. Ben Shapiro took her side, wanted condemnation, never got it. And that kind of reinforced his anti-Trump position. But Ben Shapiro is not a populist.
Right.
That much seems pretty clear. And Trump was a populist. And I think that's where he and Trump butted heads. But I don't think that means that he's holding back his particularly based positions. I think he doesn't really have particularly based positions outside of transgenderism, traditional values, the right to life, marriage, maybe stuff like that. But anything else?
What about other Daily Wire hosts like Michael Knowles?
I don't know.
You don't watch him enough?
I don't watch any of them at all.
Wow, look at you.
I don't have time.
You're like, I don't watch these peasants.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just speculating. that there may be some underlying contractual issues there. Plus, if you think about it, if you think about corporate headache, right? Deplatforming a lot of conservatives has basically no corporate headache for YouTube. Deplatforming Daily Wire creates a corporate headache.
How so?
Deplatforming Steven Crowder creates a corporate headache, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, so you're saying because of the size.
Because of the size, the notoriety of a right side figure. I think that is the big thing. You know, Alex Jones has a pretty big audience, but they're not the mainstream ad targeted audience. Ben Shapiro, his demographic is 100%. You've got 45 to 70-year-old men and women love Ben Shapiro, right? On the right. That is in the demo. That is the ad demo. That is the highest value ad demo that YouTube has. And if you mess with that, you've got a potential right-wing backlash against advertisers. The likes of which, you know, they don't see very often.
Right.
When Crowder gets deplatformed, people speak up, and I don't think Crowder has the same type of advertiser-friendly platform, because I think he gets
alienating. He's alienating.
He skews a little younger and farther right than Ben. So I mean, these are just my like, you know, you can take whatever bits of it you want. I'm just making it all up, but it's what I think about the subject. I think that Ben is a very brand safe and also a headache potential if they do deplatform him. Whereas they deplatform Crowder, you know, it's a headache for a little while. They bring Crowder back and everything's fine, but they don't really lose out that much from the corporate aspect of YouTube. We'll see how this lawsuit goes, of course.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see what's going there.
All right.
What do you think?
What you're saying makes sense. I mean, I'm mystified by it. I don't know if he self-censors. I do think that at the end of the day, you know, we're all in here to make money. And I think he found a formula that works for him. And I don't know if he comes across as being sincere in what he believes. So, and I think that some of it, I do watch other Daily Wire hosts. Michael Knowles seems a little more based than Ben Shapiro. And at the same, there definitely seems to be some sort of level of protection there. I don't know. I mean, your logic makes a lot of sense. That they're like, look, we have really good sponsors that we're not going to get from anyone else that we're able to get from him, and because there are certain bigger corporations which are more conservative and more conservative based, they're not going to be very vocal, but the advertising that they want to support is going to be more Ben Shapiro than the Young Turks. So,
speaking of which, I found out that there's gun control ads on my content.
Oh, God bless.
There's nothing I can do about it. Someone's like, why the hell are there gun control ads on your videos?
They're trolling you.
I'm
this
like,
this is the best troll in the world.
It's not me.
Right. Or maybe
Killnote says Nick, the most based of all Daily Wire is Matt fucking Walsh, and still he is so. I am not a huge fan of Matt Walsh. I'm not
either.
I used to read his stuff a long time ago, and I was like, this guy's kind of weird. But I mean, he should do his thing. I'm not, you know, I don't want him to change or anything. He's just not my cup of tea. I remember when he got hired by Blaze, and I was like, damn, wish I wrote a blog and got hired by Blaze.
I was gonna say, which of us wouldn't like to work for Blaze?
Yeah. Well,
anyone who says otherwise is lying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing now. I have no idea anymore. But man, when they hired Walsh, that was like at the pinnacle. That was pinnacle of Blaze, because that was before, you know, Trump madness sort of split a lot of Republican safeholds.
See, I'm waiting for your following to get from like 165,000 to 1.65 million, and then I figure I'm gonna push you to start your own Blaze type of corporation thing. That I figure I'm gonna basically be the most popular host on.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's the game. That's my game plan. See, failing YouTube monetization because I am too controversial and potentially harmful to viewers. And if that isn't which I really thought about, I should put advertisement like that. I am controversial and potentially harmful to you, so you better watch. But I was thinking that's the next plan. Is if I can't like make locals work, in that case, I'm gonna have to ride your coattails.
Yeah,
So,
that's well, that would be the deal.
yeah. And speaking of which, by the way, just before you move on,
okay. Well,
when I met with you, no, I'm not letting you. It's my show now. When I met with you, you had this whole thought about a plan, as far as like a series of programs that you wanted to do. I don't know if there's a taboo for me to just throw this in your face on the air.
No, I've been talking about it recently. It's the Manversations, and you're still the first. You're still the first one.
Okay, so I'd say the last time I heard from you on this was literally like April. Yeah. April like 10th or something like that.
I'm a glacier. I move very slowly, but I destroy everything in my path. So,
nice. Maybe that's why they have anti-gun control ads on you, because they're like, he's destroying everything. We should take away the weapons from him. But
yeah.
That is the best troll of you, by the way. It would be so amazing if they put commercials on for you, like pro-trans commercials. They just put on like all these.
All of a sudden, it cuts to an ad. We're talking about the power of the new woman with a Y chromosome, the powerful woman.
Yeah, like some picture from Man Ponds or something like that. Just like, two guys having a conversation about like, hey, dude, you got a spare tampon for me? He's like, oh, because it's my time of the month. And that. Imagine those ads. That would be so great. That would be the best troll of you ever. And there's nothing you can do. What are you going to do?
There's nothing. We have no control over the types of ads that run. It's great. Someone said, what did Matt Walsh do that was weird? I don't remember. It was like 2015 when I was like, this guy's a little weird. It was a long time ago. I think
it's a vibe that you get.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of his positions. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was specifically where I was really annoyed with him about something. He was talking, if I remember vaguely, he was talking about some legal topic, and I was like, that's just not how it works, Matt. But yeah, it's kind of a vibe. He's fine. I don't think anybody else should not watch him. It's just for me, I just kind of fell out of, like, I used to read his stuff and then I stopped, and that's that.
I've never had a problem with his content. As it happens, his presentation style is something that I don't know, I vibe wrong on it. But that's just a taste. And I certainly, anyone who tells me they follow and, admire Matt Walsh, I got nothing problem with that. So.
Oh, it was probably, Mike Hernandez says he doesn't like porn or trans. It was probably an issue about pornography and free speech. That's what I'm guessing. If I had to throw a dart and say, what issue of Matt Walsh's would I disagree with him on heavily? It's a speech issue, because Matt, if he doesn't like something, he's very vocal about it, and he's fine with censoring it. If he, and by he doesn't like it, I mean at his core internal belief level, it's not as flippant as I made it sound. But yeah. Also, I heard his Futanari preference is no balls. RZEQDW says, please say in a Nigerian accent and with real swears as appropriate. A real fucking leaf. They could put anything on their flag and they choose a fucking leaf. Okay. I don't know if that's a Nigerian accent, but I'm going with it.
It sounded a little Jamaican, but
I don't know. I'd have to listen to some Nigerians for a while. Where are those guys who tried to kill what's his name?
Usain Bolt? Or
no, I need the Nigerian brothers who tried to
Smollett. Yeah. Quick, the two bodybuilder guys.
Get me Smollett on the phone so I can hire his Nigerian hitmen. Phoenix Lord Asserman says, Nick, I sent you a video over Twitter about a police incident in California. It could make for an interesting topic sometime down the road. Okay, I'll check it out. Breck Nichols says, Recato Law, tell Good Logic to get into chat.
Fine. What am I going to get in chat?
I don't know. That's just what he said.
I'm very nervous that if I do this, all of a sudden there's going to be audio coming from everywhere. But I guess I can mute the audio on it.
Yeah, that's the key, is just muting the audio.
All right. So I'm in.
You don't need it. It's delayed anyway. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's very confusing. I'm looking at myself and I'm talking out of sync with my words.
Just pop out the chat window and minimize the other thing.
Got it.
Generalissimo says, "Oh Jesus God, I forgot I joined your chat at 5 minutes to 11. Went for a walk, met a girl, we married, had a kid who left for college today. Sat down looking for old photos, and bam, the show starts way earlier than normal. Nice, thanks, Generalissimo." Jose Gonzalez says, "Good evening, Nick. I am preparing to celebrate the 4th in my first new house. I have a big old glory flag in front of the house. I hope you and your family in chat enjoy your 4th as well. Let's take our shots for our nation's birthday." What are you doing for the 4th? That's is it it's Sunday?
Yeah, I'm Jewish. We don't celebrate the 4th. So I'm just kidding. I was joke.
I was like,
joke.
I was like, maybe they should go back to Israel. No,
yeah, that's how you start anti-Semitism. It's like you make a joke like that, and people are like, they really have dual loyalties. They don't even have dual loyalties. They hate America.
Well,
all of a sudden, I'll turn your whole audience into Illinois more.
I was thinking I was making sure it was Sunday because Saturday would be Sabbath, so that would actually be a tough thing.
Well, okay, so Sabbath ends at sundown. So, like, normally I will catch. I will tell you that I normally will catch the I'll catch fireworks somewhere. During the summer, my wife, this is a Jewish thing, which is that the family goes up to the Catskills because it's really hot here in New York. So the families will go to bungalow colonies up in the Catskills, and the man of the house will basically stay home, do work, and do their other stuff, and go up for Shabbos, for the Sabbath, every weekend, and then come back down. So usually what I'll end up, sometimes on rare occasion, I'll actually go out to Manhattan and watch the Macy's fireworks show over the East River. I've done that a couple of times. On a weekend thing like this, I'll probably have a family barbecue because I might still be there. I'm not sure if I'll still be there. Because I'm sort of torn because I'm thinking I'd want to stream. If I want to stream, I have to come back home from the Catskills. So I don't know. I don't have plans set as of yet. But normally it's a typical thing like the rest, like anyone else. I mean, there's no difference because Jews or anything like that. So it's a barbecue.
I didn't think there was other than with the only thing I could think of is if you had the like 4th happening on the Sabbath, how that would
on Friday when the 4th falls out on Friday. So then it's actually, because then Friday evening would be Sabbath for us. So then basically there's no celebration of July 4th at all. When it comes out on Saturday, so in that case, most of the July 4th celebrations are at night, and at that point Sabbath's over. So
there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be stuck out most of the 3rd. On the 4th, we go to a thing around here where the fireworks are on the 3rd, the night before, which is kind of, that's where they have them on the 4th, but we go to a little town nearby that does a celebration on the 3rd, and it's a little bit less hectic normally. So, but I think I'm going to be stuck outside most of the weekend, just sweating bullets because it's hot in Minnesota. So,
I'm supposed to tell you to add my channel to the description. How dare you leave it out?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
You're trying to keep a brother down.
I'm apparently failing. I even typed in Joe as a placeholder.
Not only that, even when you put out an announcement on Twitter, it's like after you send an announcement, like 2 hours later, you're like, oh, I should tag Joe in this. Let him know.
It was not 2 hours later. It's literally like 3 minutes because it's because I copy and paste the message, and so I can't tag you on everything with the same tag. So I just forgot to change it to tag you.
So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to make this whole conversation really instantly uncomfortable. Okay?
Impossible.
No, I am. So I noticed, like, when I'm looking in chat here, and this comes up whenever I check the stream, our stream afterwards. So I do get a few comments from people, like, it's like Jew or July or Jew or Jew this or whatever.
July?
Do you? Yeah,
Wait,
that's what.
Like the month? Or
yeah,
like...
I don't know. Someone just said July, duh, whatever. So I'm wondering. I don't even know what to take of that. Is that like people who just like they don't like Jews? Which in which case I don't give the flying damn. what would be your takeaway from that? Or is it just like, oh my God, I've never seen a Jew before, and there's one in front of my eyes that I'm able to like interact with? Like, what do you think is going through the mindset of most people when they actually like are shocked to see a guy wearing a kippah? And
Do you remember that Brendan Fraser movie where Christopher Walken's his dad and he's a nuclear scientist and they have a fallout shelter and they're down in the fallout shelter and a plane crashes. And so they think that Armageddon has occurred. And they're locked down there for 30 years. I'm going to think of the title in a little bit, but they're locked down in their fallout shelter for 30 years. And then Brendan Fraser, as the son who is now grown up, he's now like 30 years old. You know, he comes up in present day. This happened in like the 60s. He comes up in present day and he's walking around thinking that there's been a nuclear holocaust. Blast from the Past is a movie. Thank you, chat. Have you seen this movie?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, so
I'm sure there's relevance here because so far it's zero.
He comes up and he's wearing like a Fallout suit, but of course, like they've built a crack house on top of their their Fallout shelter.
This is a comedy. Is it a comedy? This movie?
Yeah, it's Brendan Fraser. The only thing that's not a comedy is Brendan Fraser's real life, which is a tragedy. But no, like the plane crashed like on their house while they were down. So like it obliterated the house. And they're down in this super secret fallout shelter that the dad built or whatever. So anyway, so he's upstairs and he comes out and he's like looking around and he's getting more acquainted and he runs into a black woman. Right. And he's, you know, straight laced, like 50s mentality white guy, but in like the early 2000s or whatever, or 90s. I don't know what it was. And he says, "Thank my lucky stars, a Negro." That's how
so that's where you're coming to.
That's how I take it.
You're basically like, they're like, holy cow, I've heard of Jews. I just never saw one actually interacting with another human before. So now
they're like, I heard of Jews, but I learned German history and I wasn't sure there were any left. There is here.
Wow.
Here is my man Joe. No, I don't know. I never know. When I used to guess.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever meet an Orthodox Jew before me?
Yeah. I've got Orthodox Jews in my family.
No, you don't.
Extended family, but yeah.
How do you have Orthodox? They married. How did that happen?
They married in. I don't know.
They didn't marry in because they were Orthodox Jews. They wouldn't marry into Gentiles.
Maybe my Gentiles married out. I don't. What do I don't ask these questions. My parents used to play. They used to play indoor soccer and outdoor soccer. When we first moved to Minnesota, they played soccer to kind of meet new people and stuff. They never played soccer down in Texas. I don't know why they picked soccer. I think someone from my dad's work like, hey, why don't you guys join our co-ed soccer team? And one of the couples there, Henry and Sarah, they were Orthodox Jewish. And so, you know, I knew them, met them, and spent quite a bit of time hanging around them and stuff, because they would carpool. The soccer field where they played indoor at first, before one was built near our house, was like an hour away. So every Friday we were driving an hour out and an hour back. And so what we would do is we'd make an evening out of it. We'd go out to dinner with them, or I guess it was Friday. They're playing. Maybe they weren't Orthodox. I don't know. I think they were, but maybe Henry just liked soccer more than God.
Were they wearing yarmulke or not?
Nah, I don't remember.
So I'm gonna ask you this: Did you ever sit down with a guy wearing a yarmulke before me?
Yeah, I can't tell you when.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I'm just curious because you have to realize I grew up in an environment where that's all I see. You know, when I see someone who's not like you, I'm like, whoa. This guy's not Jewish. It's like I'm coming from like completely opposite perspective. So it's like, you know, and everyone who knows me is like, wow, you sat down with a Gentile, you know, and they don't say it like that, but it's just like, because we all, even Orthodox Jews go out to business world. So like, you know, everyone, that's not really a conversation that ever would happen. But yeah, I mean, my basic environment is like, it's weird to me to find people who don't see Jews regularly, but I guess probably 95% of the world never does. And Maybe. Yeah, probably. Anyway, so that's why I was just wondering. Like, I know that they're probably like trolling me, like comedically. Like, I take it as most of them are probably trolling me comedically and just trying to get like a rise or whatever, or seem like they're really like badass. And they're like, "Ooh, I just said like, I just said Jew. I'm such a tough guy. I said Jew on the internet." But
say it again. Say it harder.
Yeah.
No,
but I don't. But I think a couple of them probably are anti-Semitic, and I don't care either way. I'm just wondering, like, what I'm wondering, like, what anyone thinks I'm supposed to take from that. Like,
don't know.
Oh wow.
I used to guest on the Kill Stream quite a bit, and they had a pretty heavy alt-right audience, and they would call me a Jew all the time because
they're calling you a Jew right now in the chat. That's because you said you got family which is Jewish. They're like, oh man, how did Hitler miss the Ricadas?
Well, we were Polish too, so he really screwed up. No, but yes, it was for me. It's the nose, the fact that I'm a lawyer and was a banker before that. I guess really, my cover is blown.
Ooh. And now you're a lawyer. I mean, come on, that's basically you're a walking cliche.
Yeah,
Jaime.
but someone asked how many Mexican teams do they play. True story. My parents didn't really play any Mexican teams. I did as a kid, and we got our asses handed to us. But no, the Somali national team all lived in Burnsville, Minnesota, and so my parents one time had to play the Somali national soccer team while they were playing indoor. It was a bloodbath. Like they're Allahu Akbaring in every goal. I'm just kidding on that. But no, it was like 25-0. And it's an indoor game. They're much shorter than outdoor. It was awful. My dad was a goalie. I've never seen him so sad. they got absolutely demolished by these guys. Okay. Next chat. Debug Den says, hey, Nick, loaded AF, but thanks for the content and covering Vic's situation to date. Love the streams from China, Nova Scotia. Cheers, brother. This has been long overdue. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Much love out to Nova Scotia. I hope your tyranny ends soon. Yeah, Vic's thing. Oh, just so we're clear, Vic did not have a decision come down. There's only one civil action decided today by the Texas Court of Appeals, the Second Court of Appeals. So, there was no news on that front. I'm still eagerly awaiting their decision. Siren Jag says, my name is Nick Ricada and I was late. How late? Well, at my regular start time, Generalissimo was still a grunt private. I expect you all to buy me shots of military special and teach me to be better. Matthew Harder says, Nick, I love you as a lawyer. You have a very prominent nose. But when given the choice, I prefer my lawyers to have long noses, very bad asthma, self-loathing, and beaten with the law for at least 6,000 or 7,000 years.
What? Is that a reference to Jews? Is that what
I think so, because I think the law is capitalized. So I think he's going with, Leviticus or whatever, Deuteronomy. Okay.
I gotta tell you, I don't know how you guys get by without being Jewish. I feel bad for you.
We eat bacon.
Yeah, okay. You get bacon. And I know like everyone looks at like Jews and say like things are so restrictive, but I'm saying like it's so much harder for you guys. You're wondering how. Like how the hell is it harder for us? I'm just telling you like this, just the Sabbath alone, okay, where we literally don't have electricity or anything like that. Just like on the Sabbath, I'll sleep for 19 hours. So every week, or at least 17 hours out of the 25. So every week I'm getting a 17-hour nap. What the hell who wouldn't you kill to have that?
I just take a 17-hour nap if I want one.
Yeah, come every week. You have
I don't
stuff
want
bothering
one.
You.
All day these days, I'm like, I sleep like 7 hours, and I'm like, oh my God, I wanted to sleep 5. I remember being 22, right? And I'd sleep 3 hours a night for weeks on end. And then I'd take one 17-hour nap and be caught up. Now if I get less than 7 hours, if I can even manage to get up, I'm dying because I'm so freaking broken. But
well, I give props to you. You must have
it's yeah, no, I I feel like I don't have enough time in my day. I definitely don't want a 17-hour nap most of the time anymore. There were times when I did, but now I don't. But I think it's the difference between, this is my job,
Right.
and I really like my job now. At the times when I was younger and really wanted more sleep and stuff like that, I didn't.
Okay,
like
but
my job.
Okay, so maybe you just, if you're used to having a toxic cleanse on a regular basis, so you can appreciate the value of, like, clearing out 20 pounds of poop from your bowels. So too, if you're used to having like rest on a regular basis, so you're used to that recharge that you're having. So maybe it is something that you get geared for. You get geared for, like, just like, working because you love work and not wanting to like rest at all. I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
No,
We
nowadays
haven't even got to anything SCOTUS related at all, by the way. We were like supposed to be doing Brnovich. I had all these different notes here.
Is this a schedule? Is it some sort of schedule here? No, if I had like 17 hours in a row right now, I would catch up on reading, but I wouldn't, because I'd actually be doing something for the show. Like, so that's the problem I have now is now, now I am like, I just found myself Googling today. I'm like looking for where can Lady Rackets and I go on a nice like couples getaway for a bit where I'm not going to stream and stuff like that. But I have no idea when that would happen. Music and Fiction says, greetings from Reno. Family is great. Loving the area. Quick question. Can a court force a city to hire more police? Not really. Because the Hennepin County District Court just issued a writ of mandamus against the Minneapolis story is on Powerline. So they've issued a writ of mandamus to hire more police. I mean, that's an unenforceable writ. Because you can't take away hiring discretion from the police department. So at the end of the day, they're still going to say this person does or doesn't meet the standards we're looking for. But yeah, that's kind of funny. That's kind of good. Maybe they should have thought about that.
Yeah, I love how they basically had that whole cycle where they're like, we need to get rid of cops, we need to defund the cops and defund the cops, and all of a sudden, like 6 months later, they're like, yeah, we're really excited, we're cutting down our police force, and then 6 months later, they're like recruiting and trying to, like, it's like, oh my god, how we got to restock our police force, because like there's just crazy mayhem going on now, which was like no one could have foreseen that. Who would have seen that coming?
Yeah. It's almost like if you tell them all that they're the worst person on the planet constantly, they'll just eventually leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a thought. Well, let's talk about Brnovich. So, let me tell the chat briefly what I have seen about Brnovich, which is not much, and I'll let you kind of fill in the gaps, and then we can talk about it. But Brnovich is the Attorney General of Arizona. And Arizona has passed a couple voting restrictions on blacks. Not really. What they did was they basically said that ballot harvesting is not a thing you can do. So absentee ballots have to be turned in by basically the person who filled it out. And then maybe they can have a relative, I don't know, but it's limited in the amount of absentee ballots you can turn in. And then there's another one as well.
Precincts. You have to vote in the right precinct.
Yeah, shockingly, you have to vote in the right voting precinct. If you don't vote in the right voting precinct, your vote doesn't get counted, which is very, very racist. Because apparently, this is
Black
not
people. It's
not my opinion. It's not my opinion. It is the opinion of Democrats that black people are so dumb that they will travel away from their voting precinct to a farther away place to vote, even though they cannot get licenses to provide ID. So they're traveling farther, but they're not using vehicles. They must have a bus pass or something. That's what's going on. So these issues go up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, no, of course Arizona can regulate its elections in this way. And they say that these are fair. Now, this was a potential challenge to the Voting Rights Act, which they did not strike down.
Right.
They preserved the Voting Rights Act. However, they allowed these things. Got it.
They just gutted any claims under Article 2 of the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I'll tell you something else. I mean, I was thinking about making a video on it, but then all of a sudden I had to prep for this debate, and then I was like, I don't have time today. But this was easy. This is the best Supreme Court decision in the last year, at least. And when you read it, you're going to appreciate it. What they said was, so first of all, it's split along party lines, which that's a nice change. That hey, at least Trump's
a 6-3, right?
Yeah, the Trump squad actually came through for once. So whoever thought such a thing was possible, even Amy Coney Barrett, apparently she remembered that she wasn't appointed by Obama, and Matt Kavanaugh remembered that the Me Too craziness that happened by him, and he's like, you know what, maybe I can go a little bit against the left.
Dude, I
said Matt, it's Brett Kavanaugh, yeah, but yeah.
His joining on the 5-4 split on the
oh my God,
the ending the moratorium on evictions.
What an ass. What an ass.
Such a weird thing. He's like, I agree this should be illegal, but let's let it go. Like,
oh my God.
What are you doing,
he's like,
you weirdo?
It's only one more month. We don't have to follow the Constitution for July.
Yeah.
We'll start following the Constitution in August. If they want to, that's when we'll start following the Constitution.
If they decide not to extend it. He's like, well, if they want to extend it now, they'll have to have an act of Congress. I'm going
to ask you. I never even understood in the first place. I mean, think about this for a second. Why the hell should the CDC have the authority to govern who is able to charge rent? What is the relationship? Like all of a sudden, because we have a pandemic, all the rules just go out the window.
The logic that they used was that if people are, and this is crazy, literally crazy logic, but they said if people are evicted, they will all go to homeless shelters, which will be bastions for spreading COVID, which is insane because most evicted people don't go to homeless shelters. Most evicted people go to a different place. They go, like, they haven't been paying rent. And you're typically not evicted on the first month that you don't pay. So
okay,
they have
okay.
Yeah,
none of this answers my question, my friend. You're not answering my question. My question is, where the hell does the CDC have authority on anything?
I was telling you. I was telling you their perspective. It's wrong.
Whose perspective? The CDC's perspective?
Yeah.
Okay, but why do I as a landlord have to listen to what the CDC says about who I can evict?
Because the CDC's eviction power stems from the emergency orders surrounding COVID, because by preventing evictions, they prevent overpopulation of shelters, which are hives for COVID spread. That's their logic chain on this, is that the CDC has the authority to regulate evictions under regulating gatherings of people in open spaces. And that's the wrong perspective, but that's what they did there. But yeah, I think when I was first talking about it, I assumed the order came from the housing Secretary of HUD.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's someone who's got something to do with housing. It's like, imagine all of a sudden the CDC said you can't trade stocks because we think like, would they have authority to say you can't trade? Why do you have authority on that?
You know what? I watched Boiler Room. Have you heard of Boiler Room? And I saw all those guys gathered on the floor with their little tickets yelling for stock trades. That looks like a COVID haven. We can't trade stocks.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're allowing stock trading, all these guys are going to be on the floor coughing on each other and licking each other's ears. Disgusting.
I mean, all right, whatever. And Brett Kavanaugh's like, yeah, I guess another month. Everything will sort itself out over the next month anyway, so it's a good thing.
Well, Congress has rental assistance payments coming. Those will alleviate things. Like, look, if someone's going to get evicted, a rental assistance payment is not going to help them.
Yeah. By the time you're getting there.
A landlord is not going through with an eviction on 1 month's missed rent. Like, that's just not happening. It costs too much.
Yeah. No, yeah, they usually wait 6 months at least. I mean,
yeah.
In New York, you won't get an eviction during the first 3.
No. How long have you you handled any eviction stuff?
Early in your practice, when you're a solo practitioner, it's almost like a must because it's the only work you can get. Like when you're first starting out, unless you have a hookup with someone who like needs a lawyer and likes you.
What's the longest you've kept a client in a place without paying a dime?
So I only had a couple of housing cases, and it's not like I kept them there. Like they came to me. A housing court in New York, I don't know what it's like by you guys, but housing court in New York is like literally walking through an Arab marketplace. You see the cattle walking by you in the courthouse, and there's people offering up prostitutes for 10,000 drachma, and it's just the smell and the feeling of being in housing court is the exact antithesis of what everyone dreams being a lawyer is about. It's just the most. It's like you can feel germs everywhere. It is disgusting.
Yeah.
And all the lawyers who are there, basically, they're the ones who are charging, $100 an hour to, $150 an hour, which I don't know if that's considered a joke where you are, but we're in New York, it's considered a joke.
Oh, in New York, that's a total joke. Out here, that's like starting pay.
Right. Okay.
Like, because top attorney, I think the top attorney pay in my town is like $250 an hour.
Wow.
There's just
Wow.
There's just not a ton of work. Like, there's not a ton of work. There's a lot of attorneys, and
Wow.
yeah, small town, man. But guess what? You know what?
Yeah.
For the price of a studio apartment in New York, you can live in like a 35. You live in a 3,500 square foot house with acreage out here.
That's true. Yeah, top attorneys here are charging like $1,500 an hour.
Yeah, top attorneys in the Twin Cities are going to be pushing $800, $900 an hour. I mean, you might have the errant 4-figure attorney from here or there. Any major metro area might have a few 4-figure attorneys who specialize in something. But yeah, I mean, out in rural Minnesota, I mean, the town I live in is 2,500 people. The big town is 15,000.
Right.
And you're talking like it's like a New York block.
Okay, so you could buy a house there. Right, it's true. It is a New York block, and New York blocks are really big. But I mean, houses there, they go for like basically like 100, 150 or something like that.
You can find a house out here for $60,000.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
my last house, which I won't talk about this one. My last house, which is 3,500 square feet. It was on 7 3/4 acres of land. It has a detached shop, a finished shop, right? Like it's like a separate garage, but it's fully finished on the inside and insulated and everything. And that with about 800 square feet there, maybe 1,000, and that I paid $260 for.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, you can get a lot of. You can get a lot of house out here.
The good thing about New York now is now that de Blasio is done with it, like rental prices have like basically tanked beyond belief because no one wants to go to New York anymore.
Yeah.
So, so we're getting back to talking about Brnovich. So let me tell you why you're going to love this decision.
Wait,
and why
but you never said what the longest you kept him in was. You didn't have any cases like that?
No, I mean, so a guy came. So like I said, I only handled a couple of cases. It's not like something I wanted to do, and. I had I think 14 months without paying.
Yeah. I kept a client in a house 18 months past foreclosure, and the bank ended up paying them.
Wow.
It was a wild deal. It was a wild deal that we got.
There must have been a lot of equity in that house, though.
Yeah, there was.
Okay.
But that was 18 months in after the foreclosure, and that was, but
foreclosure is different than rent eviction. Rent eviction
after 6 months in Minnesota, it's the same.
Oh,
someone who holds over 6 months after a foreclosure in Minnesota is treated like a month-to-month renter.
Okay, well, over here, when you're dealing with a rent eviction, it's and with a foreclosure eviction, those can go on you can litigate those for 3 years. So, and they don't pay rent throughout that time. Yeah. So, or if they're smart, they're not paying rent. Not that I would ever advise my client to not pay rent.
I would. Like they're foreclosing on the house. Why would you give them any money?
I don't need to be Giuliani'd, so.
It was a weird situation. A garbage local bank with a lot of small town politics at play, and they had some bad actions. So we were able to get them to pay out at the end. We got a very, very good deal though. It's the type of deal that you would, if you had like a website, you would put it on there or whatever. It was good. It was good times. But okay, back to Brnovich. So so tell me about the intricacies of Brnovich.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what they basically said. You know how there's all these different litigations about the new new voting reform laws that are going on across the country?
Yeah, they're saying all of them. If you try and control voting in any way, not even limit it, just put some guidelines around it, that is inherently racist and anti-black, which is the most racist thing I've ever heard. But
Brnovich was a nuclear bomb to all of them. They're all gone.
Good.
That's what I'm telling you. That's the only way any lawyer can reasonably read Brnovich. Thank God. Because this is what they basically said. Assuming you have a voting reform law which is facially equal in time, manner, and place, and you're starting with that, which all these voting reform laws are equal time, manner, and place, meaning we're not going to treat the black community different than the white community, but that in all across the states, equal application, time, manner, and place. In that case, so there's no assumption of it being anything remotely racist. In that case, they're going to go to a 5-pronged test and try and evaluate it. And while the dissent decided to fixate only one of them, of disproportionate outcome is indicative of an intent to discriminate, and therefore that's why the dissent said, well, once you see that disproportionate outcome, that's how you know it was racist. Like any good CRT, like any good CRT believer would espouse. So they
that's
say,
that's not even how disparate outcomes work. Like in employment law, you can have disparate outcomes. They don't necessarily indicate racial animus. Even if the outcomes show different racial treatment at the end of the day, they don't automatically. It's not by default based on racial animus. There can be several good reasons for the different outcomes.
Well, the court looked at Title VII about employment law and basically said the standards we use there, we're not even going to apply those standards. We're going to be more lax over here and not worrying about racial discrimination than we are by employment law. And then it said that they're going to look at 5 different factors. And for example, is this law are they banning anything that was allowed back in 1982? And if they're not banning anything allowed back in 1982, in that case, it's probably going to be okay. And which is like everything. I mean, nothing here is more restricted than it was in 1982. Right. So, because that's when the amendment to the 1965 Voting Rights Act is enacted, and that's when the language of Section 2 was changed to basically say, and they basically said the whole idea here is all we care about is equal opportunity, not equal outcome.
Yeah.
And which is what any good American should believe in. If you're, from Das Kapital, in that case, you might be against that sort of thing. If you're part of the CCP, you believe in that equal outcome is everything. But if you're an American, in that case, you believe in equal opportunity. And that's basically what the 6 justices said. And they went further, and they said, when we're trying to look at the percentages and you're trying to say, is this a disparate outcome?
Right.
So we like the thinking of Judge Easterbrook, and what Judge Easterbrook made this point when it came to voter ID laws. He said that the plaintiffs who are petitioning against this, they say, well, this is racist because 99.9% of white people have ID, while only 99.7% of black people have ID. And Judge Easterbrook said, so you could look at that as saying, okay, but let's look at reality. 997 out of 1,000 people have ID, right? And it's not like that's really, even if you're black, 997 out of 1,000 have the ID. How many people is this really affecting? But you could look at that like that, which is really 0.2%, or you could look at it the way that the left wants to look at it, which is there's 1% of white people that don't have it, 3% of black, 0.1% of white people, 0.3% of black people. It's 3 times as racist against black people as white people. And the court said, we reject that entire line of thinking. That's just trying to use semantics to make a racial issue where there is none. That's a joke.
And it's also using percentages is disingenuous on that as well. Because at percentages that are that low, and whatever the numbers actually are, they're very low. They're all outliers at that point. And when you factor in the disparity in actual population weights, where you've got something like 65% of the American populace is white, whereas 15% is black, that number disparity actually means there's, by raw numbers, more white people without a license than black people. But in, right? Like,
oh, you said my raw numbers total. Yeah.
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 But it doesn't matter either way, because all of them on all counts are outliers, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
right. That's true.
we're so far away from median here that it's actually pathetic.
It's
that
like
we're even talking
basically,
about this.
yeah, it's like basically in the state of Arizona, it's like we're talking about a total of 25 people altogether who do not have ID. That's basically, that's what you're talking about here. Or,
right,
or 200 people, but it's like, what the hell are you really worrying about?
Which is why the states that have proposed voter ID laws since like the 90s have all suggested that if they did a state voter ID, they would have a program to provide free of charge at the cost to the state a voter ID card for everybody who couldn't get one, because it would be literally no money. Like, an individual person could just go ahead and donate it. Like, it wouldn't cost anything to do. You're talking about $9 a card. You're talking about like $2,000 total over the course of 4 years. It's like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's an absolute embarrassing amount of
Exactly.
money for states to do this. And so did you,
But
by the way,
but I want to get to this
yeah,
one last point that they made, and that was that they said that even if there was disparity, which we don't think there was disparity because it's not significant, it has to be a significant impact. And so they said in our case over here, when it comes to ballot harvesting, that does not impact 99.5% of white people or 99% of black people. When you're talking about 1%, we don't give a damn. That's basically what the court said. But even if we did give a damn, even if it was statistically significant, we would still ignore it, because what's important is that if the objective of the law can rationally be related towards securing voter integrity, that trumps everything.
So it's a rational basis test.
Yeah. So and when they're looking at that as to whether, so you tell me now, which voting reform law is not going to pass muster here? Which one is not going to pass muster that they're going to say, look, we're trying to protect voter integrity and make sure our election integrity is going to be fine? And that's why I'm saying all of these different cases, they're just like gone now.
Yeah, the only way you could do it is you'd hit strict scrutiny rather than rational basis. If you created a voter law that said blacks need to have ID.
Right. Yes.
Right, or Mexicans or something.
Well, right.
Like
but then,
that's what you would have to do.
Then it wouldn't even go to this whole five test, this whole five step analysis, because it's not
right,
equal across the board to all things.
Right. It's facially discriminatory. It would trigger strict
precisely
scrutiny.
That was it. Yeah. If it's facially equal in time, place, and manner, so in that case, yeah. But
yeah, that's
that's why I'm saying this decision basically is what MAG has been waiting for like since November.
That's good, because there's a whole lot of cases that are coming up based on these restrictions. Did you happen to see Nate's video on voter ID laws? I haven't watched it, but I know the substance.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Why don't you share that with me, though?
I
mean, you don't have to share the link. I'm just saying to share with me what.
Basically, Nate has been doing. He got a bug in his head about analyzing the genesis of sort of voter ID laws and where they are, because they're called racist and stuff like that. So he wanted to look into it. Found out that the overwhelming majority of voter ID laws were voted in by Democrats, not by Republicans, and
surprise.
that there's a federal voter ID requirement that exists. And all states basically have a basis of an initial voter ID or some sort of acceptable alternative already on the books. So like all of the hubbub over the voter ID being racist thing. The other thing he found out was that New York has stricter voter ID laws than Georgia. It's this type of stuff. So it's great. I haven't watched the video. I would recommend people to check it out. I talked to Nate about, when he was researching this and putting it together. Sounds like it's going to be a blockbuster video. So I think people should check it out, because it really is, it's this, that one thing Nate is very good at is putting facts down around this stuff. He does very good deep dives into the law, and I know he did a bunch of research on this one. This is not a hack together video that took 5 minutes. This is a thing he put a lot of time into. So
Right. So watch his video. Otherwise, you're a white supremacist jackass.
Or a black supremacist jackass.
he really is good, Nate. And I commend him. He throws in his he's got his Photoshop stuff, or he's bringing down his he's got his little pictures that are popping up there out of nowhere, and
all this editing. What is this? Making us all look bad.
Yeah, he's basically trying to make us look like the laziest, worst video content producers ever, and showing us up left and right. But God bless him. He's trying to keep base. I think he's trying to keep base with Legal Eagle, at least give him a run. So
okay, so I have a question for you.
Oh, here we go.
I saw a person on Twitter the other day who has come out. They've come out of the closet, and they now identify as Korean.
I saw with the pink hair.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you. Can I identify as Orthodox Jew?
Yes. Yeah, you can.
What steps do I have to take to become Orthodox Jew?
Well, first, the most obvious one.
I have to wear a kippah. I'm good with that.
No.
No?
Yes, you would.
Okay. Whew.
The most obvious one is the chop.
What if I've already got that covered?
Technically, okay. So yeah,
I got a pair of scissors. We can make this happen anyway.
I'm not asking for proof. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, that's already covered. But otherwise, I've got a pair of shears upstairs if I need to deal with that.
Right.
Wait, what if the chop was not done by a rabbi though? Like,
okay, if you ask me genuine question, not just screwing around.
Genuine question. I don't know.
Oh, so okay. Genuine question. I'll tell you this.
Okay.
We discourage conversion. And anyone who wants to convert to Judaism, if you come to an Orthodox rabbi and you say you want to convert, we discourage it. And we say, you know what? Why the hell are you doing this? You can go to heaven just as easily, and you don't have to bring all this burden on yourself. So that's the first thing we do. And there's multiple efforts to discourage someone, because we're not looking to missionize. We're not looking to missionize. And we're not looking.
Does the Orthodox Jewish community need a better marketing promoter? Because I hear you guys have a lot of money, and I can make time.
No, but you know what? If you're not used to the lifestyle of living an Orthodox Jewish life, and you're just going to become Jewish and then not live up to the lifestyle, it's right. Like our perspective is you were better off remaining Christian.
Right. There's a whole bunch of work that you have to do here.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things you're basically undertaking. So why undertake it and then not live up to it? And now you'll end up being, from the ethereal perspective, you're in a worse position than if you never converted. So
right, you were going to heaven and now you're not.
Yes, exactly. You just screwed yourself, and we don't want you to do that. So we're basically, look, there's so easy. There's many Gentiles who we believe, go to heaven. If you're basically a good person and you believe in God and don't kill anyone or commit adultery, it's really easy to get to heaven. So why bother coming down? And that this is basically a role that God basically said, this is what I'm asking Jewish people to do, but not everyone else. So Why would you say it? Why would you take on a life where you're committing to never eating bacon when you can just do what you're doing and you'll still go to heaven? So, like, from my belief system, basically, if I want to go to heaven, I can't eat bacon. If you want to go to heaven, you can go to heaven and eat all the bacon you want, because you and I have different roles.
No, I get it.
If you wanted to convert, there would be certain basic classes they would teach you. If you're adamant that you really, really want to convert, there'd be certain basic classes that they would teach you, and ultimately if there would be a chop if you're a man. If you're a woman, you don't have to worry about that. And then if you're chopped already, they draw blood
from the penis.
Yeah, there's like it's like a pinprick.
They should lead with that.
I'm sure they tell you in advance that, hey, that's. But I'll tell you, that. You can jokingly say, like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible. But honestly, I don't think anyone would really notice it like 10 minutes later.
Probably not. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Now, if you were uncut, though, I think you would notice. Like, yes. That's a pretty big conversion as an adult, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's I've never borne witness to that, and I can't even imagine what that would be like.
I
So
I have sort of, but it was via a like a Discovery documentary, and it was not a Jewish thing. It was much worse. It was
what
like
was it?
it was an African tribe
Oh my God.
that did circumcision at like puberty.
Oh
As
yeah.
a
So
It's either
so
African or South
Muslims,
American.
I think Muslims do that. Muslims, because circumcision came from Abraham, and
Right.
Muslims and Jews both descend from Abraham. Abraham had two sons. He had Isaac and Ishmael. So
Yeah.
Ishmael is the forebear of Muslims, and
Right.
Isaac is the forebear of Jews. And Abraham is the one who first made a covenant with God, which is where we have the whole circumcision from. And we believe that Ishmael was 13 when that happened. When that first covenant came, and Abraham was 99, to Ishmael was 13. And to Ishmael's credit, that he basically said, all right, I'm going to do this too. And they all do the practice. Now, I don't know at what age Muslims actually do the cut, but Isaac got his cut at 8 days old. And
Yeah.
that's why, and that was passed down to us, that we're supposed to do it at 8 days old. But Ishmael did it 13. So I don't know at what age Muslims get themselves cut.
I
I
don't know,
can't
man.
even,
I saw
I can't
the
even imagine doing it at 13 though.
I saw the video. They didn't show the actual cut, but they showed like the knife that they used. It was this weird like two-bladed thing. Basically, I got the idea that they kind of put it in the middle and went, whoosh, like around. But they like use a numbing cream first, and then they did it, and the kids are like passing out all over the place. I was like, hell with that.
Yeah,
To
no,
hell with that nonsense. I'm out. I'm out. If I'm uncut that long, I am remaining uncut forever. Whew.
yeah, no,
Whew.
I definitely could understand. Yeah, that sounds really awful.
Yeah, it was whew. Dang. Dang. Um yeah, it like we're talking primitive here. It was literally like a topical cream that they had made out of plants and then the cut. This is not like these are people wearing grass, as clothing. So it's not like they went into a hospital, were anesthetized, you know, or given some Valium later. No, 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 no. This is part of their passage into manhood. I was like, yeah, can I just fight a bear or something instead, or like
Wow.
a lion, maybe two lions? God,
Wow.
it was that was brutal. Anyway, no. So okay, so all of the things that you said are great. I'm gonna ignore all of those though.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna come out on Twitter as an
I love it.
Orthodox Jew.
I love why. Look,
That's how I identify, and your God is a racist if he decides otherwise.
let me ask you this: can I identify as black even though I don't look black? Can I say now I identify as black? I really believe in black people. I identify as black, and now I'm black. And how dare you treat me as anything less than that? Because in my mind, I'm black. If a man can identify as being a woman, and everyone's supposed to recognize and say, hey, refer to her as she now. So why can I not identify as black and change my race without having to go through all the surgery?
Is fried chicken kosher?
Yes.
Then yes, you can.
So is watermelon. Wow. You really went there. I didn't think you were going to go. I was like,
I didn't
no
go
way,
to watermelon. That's rude. I love fried chicken. But I've been black a long time.
Yeah.
I've been black for a very long time.
Have you been?
Oh yeah. Have you not seen my transracial
No,
picture?
I saw the whole Australia, the no Australia thing.
You don't know that I actually identify as a black man?
No, did you get a black pass from Drexel, or like did you need that, or you were so black yourself? You were so blatantly black with that black nose of yours that you basically that black Jewish nose, whatever.
Guys, he doesn't know. I guess I have to show you.
Yeah, please do.
Well, let me just tell you. I want you to type. Do you have Google open?
Yeah, I can do that.
I want you to just type a phrase into Google.
Go for it.
Type in blackface lawyer.
No way. That's not going to be you.
Look at the first result.
I came up wrong. One. That's not you, is it? What the hell, dude? Is that really you
Yeah, of course it's me.
in the brown shirt?
I was dressed up as Drexel for Halloween.
Oh my God.
He came over to my house.
That is awesome.
This is just at my house. We had like 5 or 6 people for a Halloween party. We watched Jackhammer Massacre that we rented from Video Update. It was great. But yeah, that was the whole joke. Was I made this costume out of it was like $5 at Walmart. I got some black face paint and I got an afro. The headband is actually Drexel's, and the outfit I'm wearing, you can't really see it, it's a brown shirt and then these white pants. It's our cheerleading uniform. I wore mine because Drexel's I would have been swimming in his. Right. But I had a sign. See, this is the mentality we were in back in like 2005 when this picture happened. I had a sign around my neck that was too offensive for the picture. I had to take it off. It said, share that? Yeah, it said "World's Gayest Cheerleader," and we're like, well, that's a little bit much. Maybe we should take that one off. Didn't even think for a moment that that the rest of it would be offensive because.
What year was this?
2000. I think it was 2005 or 2006. One of those two.
So back then the world was a whole different place. The world was a much healthier place back then.
Never entered my mind that dressing up as my best friend in while he was there. That was the joke. Like he came in the door. I had been waiting upstairs, and I came downstairs dressed like him. Because I thought, this will be really funny. And
did he think when he first saw you? Did he realize that you were dressing like him?
Oh, he knew immediately. He died laughing. It was a great gag. That was the whole thing. And so, yeah.
Because the first thing that pops up here is, so Nick Ricea, the lawyer Vic retained for his GoFundMe, is a racist who has wore blackface and said, "This is what I really look like," as a caption to this picture he posted on social media. And Vic considers him a friend.
This is what that is the most based and red-pilled caption I've ever seen. This is what I really look like. I posted that on MySpace. Wow. On MySpace. That's how long ago this was.
Wow. On MySpace. You just dated yourself right there.
Yeah. That's how different the world was. It was
so different.
It was obviously a joke. And to be fair, it was posted to a MySpace and the pictures on my MySpace were only shared with my friends. And they all knew Drexel. Like that was the whole gag. It was all just our college friends that we hung out with. Somehow when MySpace got sold, those things got made public, including pictures of my baby, which we did not have. We had all of those pictures private because, we posted them. This is before Facebook. My wife was like, "We are not posting pictures of our baby on the internet." Right. And then when Facebook came around, everybody's throwing pictures of everybody up. It was a little bit different, but no, in one of the transfers of ownership of MySpace, those privacy settings got changed. I don't know. I didn't even remember that picture existed. And then someone found it and they're like, "You're a racist." And I was like, "Oh my God."
So while we're sharing past indiscretions, I can't confirm or deny whether this happened to me in 2008.
Okay. Mr. CIA, what do we got here? This is juicy.
On Purim, which is when the Jewish holiday which we dress up. So I try being topical. And that year fell out right after the whole Reverend Wright Obama scandal came out, where it's like, his pastor basically came out, was revealed as being this guy who hates white people, and then he goes to this church where they're basically cursing out white people and stuff like that.
Jeremiah Wright is a non-racial motivated saint. How dare you?
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, so that was the scandal that was going on in 2008, because it was like, in the late winter, early spring of 2008. And that was like the big news of the day. And I may or may not, I don't exactly recall, possibly may have dressed up as an African wearing a shirt that said "Your next president," and on the back said "Kill Whitey." May or may not have done that. So, but that I was, I've seen someone who did that. I don't remember exactly what happened. There's no pictures that anyone can. Yeah. So, but back then, that was like, you had Jimmy Kimmel was doing his Karl Malone thing.
Look, what I did was funny. What you did was horrible.
I was political. I didn't do it. I want to know, what are you talking about? There's no proof.
Okay. The person that you saw, what
someone who would have done that would have been a horrible, horrible person. What a horrible person. Terrible. Oh my God.
Karl Malone, don't need none of this racism. Oh God. Oh.
But that was all normal. That no one thought twice. No one thought there was anything wrong with it. It's just like, it's not like, oh, I hate. No one would take from that, see this picture and think, oh, this guy hates black people. Like no one meant it that way. No one took it that way. And that's what's so wrong with this ethnocentrist. Our new standard is we're going to judge everybody who ever lived throughout history by 2021 standards. And if you don't live up to what our belief of right and wrong is, if you at some point in your life you didn't live up to that ideal, you are now, and we don't like you. If we like you, we'll accept your forgiveness. You might have to give a half-hearted forgiveness like Jimmy Kimmel. If we don't like you, then we can tag you forever as being an evil racist who's basically needs to be obliterated from the earth and sent to a re-education camp before we castrate them and make sure that they can't possibly reproduce and populate the earth with their evil racist Hitler genetic genes.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And that's the thing about my costume and joke that's so funny is people are like, that's racist. And I'm like, have you met Drexel? Because the joke in that picture is me.
Right.
He's like, he outweighed me by like 100 pounds of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
He was taller.
Yeah, seriously, you would give your left nut to look like Drexel.
It was a complete it was a complete joke. Here I am. I'm pretending to be a 6'7", 250-pound black guy that is raw muscle, especially at the time. His arms are like 22 inches. Like, look at these pathetic things. It's like the joke was me. That was the funny part. That's what made the costume better. It was not that I was denigrating black people. I was making fun of me. I was denigrating me. That's why
that the closest you could get to looking like him is by basically putting like that color on your face, and you still look zero like him. So
that was what would make our friends laugh about that, is the idea that this scrawny, at the time I was like 170 pounds. It's like this 170-pound white kid is pretending to be this big giant muscular dude. Like that was the funny part of it. And people are like, you're a racist. I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Let's see. Let's go to Chicago and walk around and see who's scared to go where. Let's see who the real racist is. Cause I'll go anywhere. I'm a fucking idiot. Nix Hex says, Google Maddox lost you dummy for a video Keck posted of you several years ago for a real blackface lawyer with a real Nigerian accent. Hey, that's a great video. GD says, I identify as the God of the Bible, Torah, and Quran. I am trans-religious. Thank you. And I expect your burnt offerings and prayers and songs of praise. Please do not be a bigot.
Well played. Nice.
Oh, my gosh. In kilograms, Eldon Bangley is demanding that I express weight in kilograms. Here, 250 pounds in kilograms is called learn to speak American, you inferior nationality. There you go. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Brnovich is a great decision.
Yes,
I want to read it. I might do a video on it in the next day or two.
you have to. You really have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it's great. I did not know that decision came down until you mentioned. You're like, Brnovich will give us a lot to talk to, and I'm like, oh shit, Brnovich, what the hell is he talking about? I better Google this. I knew Brnovich was the Secretary of State of Arizona because he had his big balls movement or moment the other day when he told the DOJ, yeah, you come after any of our laws, and I'm going to wreck your shit. Right?
Yeah, well, they got wrecked.
Yeah.
I mean, this case here, I'm telling you, it's an Adam. Merrick Garland's filed a lawsuit June 25th. He might as well withdraw today because it was he wanted to do on the 8-year anniversary of Shelby County versus Holder, which he felt that wrongly gutted the voting rights amendment. So he had to do it on June 25th, and a week later, it's toast, and he just looks like the biggest clown ever.
God, I'm glad that guy didn't get on the Supreme Court. Could you imagine if we were talking about Justice Garland right now?
Okay, but let me ask you this. Can you imagine if we can go back in a time machine to like 2018 when everything was going on with the Me Too movement against Brett Kavanaugh and we knew what kind of justice he would be? We'd be like, yeah, Dr. Ford. Yeah, he raped her. Get rid of this guy. I mean, he's been such a complete, disappointment after we all expected him to be so based and be vindictive based on how the left tried to abuse him for for over nothing, and he's basically been cowed. He's become like the most beta justice you could possibly ask for.
He's not that bad. We still have Stephen Breyer.
Dude, he admits the Constitution. He's like, I don't care about the Constitution. It's it's just 1 month. Who cares? I mean, come on.
That's a bad decision. But I will say Kavanaugh he's been good on a couple decisions lately. He has. But
when he's joining in with 8 other justices,
when he's riding the coattails of Clarence Thomas, he's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Okay.
Because this is a case that, everyone expected it to be covered by people like you and Viva Fry or Nate and stuff like that. And maybe I missed it. Maybe you did cover it and I just missed it. But the perplexing case with respect to that cheerleader who cursed out, her school and I don't think anyone did a video on it because I think a lot of people were very confused.
Uncivil Law covered it extensively.
Did he?
Yes.
I mean, I know he covered the oral arguments. I saw that, and
he covered the decision as well.
It was so interesting that I think most of us would have taken the side that the 8 justices took, and then you had Justice Thomas, who is basically the voice of the right, being the one dissent against, and
not a pleasant opinion either.
Yeah,
it was not a pleasant dissent. I don't like it.
So you disagree with Justice Thomas on that case?
Yeah, I've been the reason I didn't cover it. 1, Uncivil Law had it very well covered. 2, I lost track of covering it in doing some other stuff. And 3, I forgot about it after I lost track of it.
That's a very, very honest answer.
No,
so you're not going to cover it now because it's too late, obviously.
I might still actually. I do want to cover it because I want to be critical of Thomas's decision. Now I think are
you at 1,000 likes yet? Because you're seeming like way too sober.
No, I'm at 679.
What the hell?
It's it's Thursday and I've canceled the last 3 Thursdays.
Oh, so no one knew I was coming.
Yeah, I think that's a big.
It's been a stinky stream now, even though you and I've been yucking it up.
No stream is stinky. I enjoy all of them.
I know, but yeah, I'm sorry.
So Clarence Thomas.
Uh-huh.
I think it's really easy to say that Thomas had a bad decision there. However, that's the easy way out on Thomas's decision. What Thomas says in the decision is really important. He says not that the majority is wrong about schools having the ability to regulate off-campus speech, right? He says that the majority does not do the work, required to show why campuses should not be able to regulate off-campus speech. And there's a distinction there that's really, really important. He's begging for something to happen. And what's interesting is I think, this is not the first decision we've seen. Actually, it's not even the most recent decision we've seen where we've had a justice accusing the court of not wanting to do the work.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the other one. I just did a video on this. Hold on. I'll find out in just a second which one this was. Let's see. Supreme Court transgender bathroom case.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Transgender bathroom case. They basically said that none of the justices were willing to do the work on the transgender bathroom case. The NCAA, they kind of said the same thing. The concurring opinions in the NCAA case, they said the justices aren't willing to tackle the other issues here, and really, really slap down the NCAA. We're starting to see this sort of theme amongst the Supreme Court where they're not fully willing, or justices are suggesting that the court is not willing to do the hard work here. And I think this is what you've got when you've got 250 years of stare decisis, right? You've got 250 years of saying we can't change what has been put down by the court. And some of this stuff really needs to change. It really does. And stare decisis needs to be
re-looked at. You think that Thomas was displaying too much deference to stare decisis on the cheerleader case, and that's 100%.
Why that's laced through his opinion. I don't know if
his whole dissent is based. It was actually like a three-way split there, because the concurrence had a completely different logic from the majority, and the concurrence I think was Alito and Gorsuch, and they had a completely different perspective as to why it was that she had free speech. And honestly, I looked at this case like 2 weeks ago, and it was very complex. Like the logic that each of them were using as to like why it is that they were granting this. From what I recall, the majority and the concurrence really were almost diametrically opposed, and yet reaching the same conclusion. Whereas Thomas was like, I don't know why you guys are all ignoring case law. Case law says that the school can do whatever they're going to do in order to have discipline there, and why are you just tossing that out the window? But I remember, and I have to look at it again to actually, if you would actually know it off the top of your head, I would be very impressed, because it was a complex decision, and the logic that was being employed by the concurrence as opposed to the majority, I remember being diametrically opposed.
I can't tell you the concurrence versus a majority, but I can tell you Thomas's stuff, because that's what I went to go read. I'm like, Thomas is a lone dissent on,
because he shocked the world. He shocked the world with that dissent. Because I think we all, when the voting came in, if we had to predict how that would come out, the first thing you would say is, yeah, of course Thomas is going to stand up for free speech. That's the first thing we all would have assumed.
And I think the interesting thing about the Thomas decision is at first glance, at facial value, Thomas looks like he's opposing free speech for the student.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read into the opinion, at least what I got out of it is Thomas begging the court to explore deeper into these 150-year-old precedents, and set a distinction today and set new limits based on the advent of social media. That's what I got from Thomas, is him saying, if the court's not willing to actually look at the practical realities of youth today and their reliance and usage of technology, then I'm going to dissent and say, look, if we're going to ignore the differences today, if we're going to ignore what is actually going on, then I'm going to rely on 150-year-old case law, because that's what they're doing. And if they're going to rely on 150-year-old case law, they're not following it. That's what I got out of Thomas. Like him saying, please look into this, because we have a 150-year-old precedent here, and we don't live 150 years ago. You're muted. There you go.
Are you suggesting that Thomas was calling for judicial legislation? That they should change the rules all of a sudden?
No, I don't think he's calling for them to change the rules. I think he's calling for them to address the present reality. The Supreme Court lives in the past on this stuff, and I'll always go back to what I wrote my law school thesis on, which was USV Jones 2006 case, where they attached a GPS device to a car, and drove. The guy drove the car around, but they attached the device one day after their warrant expired, right? And Scalia writes his very complex opinion about trespass to property, basically. They trespassed on the guy's car by placing a device on it outside of the warrant requirement. And Scalia ignores the reality that by the time they decided US v. Jones, which I think was 2012, the case, it happened in 2006. Case is decided in 2012. By the time they decided US v. Jones, they didn't need devices on cars for GPS tracking anymore. And so he's talking about this in this really
as if anyone gives a damn anymore.
Right. Like, who needs to attach anything to a car? You've got a cell phone and we'll just track that. And what I wanted Scalia to do in that case was address the practical reality of a police officer can effectively follow you on a public roadway. Everywhere you go, they can just follow right behind you by tracking your cell phone. And if any other person than a police officer were to literally get behind your car and follow you everywhere you went, you could call the cops on them and say that they're stalking you. Right. You could say this is not even if a police officer got in his car and followed you everywhere you went on a public road, turned where you turned, pulled into the stores where you pulled in, that would be illegal. You could call the cops and say, "Hey, knock this off." You may even have a 1983 claim on it for invasion of privacy, all of this stuff. But Scalia says, no, that's all okay because you're on a public roadway. And when you're on a public roadway, you might encounter your neighbor at a crosswalk. That's literally what he says. It's like, if you're stopped at a four-way stoplight and your neighbor
what?
And your neighbor pulls up next to you, they will know where you were. Therefore, if you're on a public roadway, the police can know where you are at all times.
I don't understand the logic of that. What the hell does that even mean?
There is no logic. It's one of Scalia's terrible opinions. What I will give Scalia credit for is that opinion was used in the the tire chalk case for parking meters. Yeah. Where they go by a parking meter and they put chalk on your tire, and then when if they come back and they see the tire with the chalk, it's still there, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, I know that this guy has violated the parking thing." They determine that that's a trespass to your property. They actually don't have authorization to trespass on your car by drawing on it with chalk. So that's actually the only good thing that came out of Scalia's decision. But the rest of it is garbage. It's bollocks. And it's based on this old style. He goes to a trespass theory of Fourth Amendment search and seizure, right? And but that's not the issue in US v. Jones. We don't care that they attached a device outside the warrant. We care they followed the guy around virtually without a warrant. That's what we care about. And Scalia basically says that's okay. The only problem was they put a device on it. So this is a really, really roundabout way of saying that the courts, in my opinion, are so far behind technology that they're not willing to address practical realities. And that's what I feel like Thomas is addressing in this cheerleader, this fuck cheer case. Is he's saying, the majority is not willing to question the limits of speech and how much control a school has when speech is said off campus, but when it can be repeated on campus effectively through tweets or retweeting or whatever. He says they didn't address that. And he says, if they're not going to address that, then I'm not going to bother with it. And we're going to stick with the original law that it was. And this has been the law for 150 years. If it's me, I'm going to the Supreme Court and I'm saying there is no way, under no circumstances, can a school address what a child posts on Twitter when they're not in the building, because they are not responsible for what other people do with their tweet or their Instagram or their Snapchat while they're at school. And it's ludicrous to assert that this cheerleader should have the foresight and the pre-censorship to say, she can type fuck cheer, but if someone retweets fuck cheer during the school day, she gets punished. That is nonsense to me.
Right.
And that's
You're
the
saying once it
simplest
leaves
thing
her
in the world.
control. Right. I will tell you, I kind of lost my whole train of thought after I was listening to a Minnesota lawyer and I heard him use the word bollocks. Like I was all of a sudden in a freaking Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah. Well, I
I'm
watched
back in jolly old
Look,
England.
I watched Snatch last night. It's my fault.
Who the hell says bollocks? What the hell was that?
Bullet Tooth Tony does.
Bullet Tooth. Let me tell you, that was one of the great. Yeah, you missed again. Missed me. That was to me, that's one of the 5 greatest movies of all time.
It's a great movie.
And I was going to watch it with you last night, and all of a sudden I was like, I need Amazon Prime. I was like, there was all these regulations.
You don't have Amazon Prime?
First of all, when it comes to shopping, I leave all that to the wife. And I wasn't going to wake her up at 3 a.m. and say, what's the freaking password to get into Amazon Prime? So, yeah, I didn't realize that but I was really looking forward to it. I was really looking forward to watching Snatch with you. And because it was a phenomenal movie. It's like real. It was,
I love it when cousin Avi shows up and Doug's like, he says, Avi, he says, sit down and shut up, you big bald fuck. That's like of everything that happens in that movie and all of its glorious. That's the one I'll always go back to. I'm like, that is my line from Avi. He says, sit down and shut up, you big bald fuck.
Yeah, there are so many lines in that. It must be it's the Germans. Wait.
Yeah. What are you worried about, Tommy? The Germans.
Yeah. They're gonna blow your bullocks off.
Oh God.
There's so many great moments there.
It's fantastic, but no, that's just my opinion. Now, Mithrin Emrys has 3 chats. I want to read all of them real quick. I like Mithrin. Lots of good insight here. It says Mahami was decided for the right party, but the majority decision is pretty trash. It gives schools too much power over off-campus speech. He says majority. 1, is the school acting in loco parentis? 2, is it political or religious speech?
Oh, there we go.
3,
yes.
is it unpopular speech deserving protection? Mithrin Emrys says little to no protection if the comment can be seen as bullying, harassment, a threat of violence, and or directed at the school or school officials, which is nonsense. Of course, when you're off campus, you can say my gym teacher is a fat lardo who should catch fire and die. Mm-hmm. Of course you should be able to. And if you're off campus and someone records you saying that because you're at the arcade, because we're in 1996 now, right? You're at the arcade, you're playing Tekken. You say,
I'm picturing it. I'm on Street Fighter while you're doing Tekken.
Okay, you're playing Street Fighter, and I'm like, hey, my gym teacher in 9th grade was Miss Charbonneau. Pretty sure that chick's a lesbian and is still a lesbian today, and she doesn't know anything about school. She was only hired because she's a fat lesbian.
You'd say carpet muncher, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. She's a rug-munching lesbian. So if I say that at the arcade, and I'm in a public place, I'm not whispering, I'm not trying to hide it, so it's very public speech. Someone records that, takes it to the school, and plays it. I should not in any way be punished by the school.
I don't think anyone. So I don't think you're saying you believe Thomas thinks you should be punished for that.
I'm saying Thomas says that 150 years of jurisprudence says you should be punished for that. I'm not saying I don't think Thomas addresses the should in his opinion. That's the thing that I think is important about Thomas's opinion. I don't think he addresses the should. I think he says the court isn't addressing the should, and they should. And if they're not going to, he's going to dissent. That's what I got out of it.
Oh, so he's like, if I can get people to come along with me and address this should. So let me ask you this. If Thomas had if there were 9 Thomases on the court, what do you think would have been different about this whole thing?
I don't. Well, the outcome very possibly could have been different. Thomas could have decided.
But would he have started changing the rules? What rules do you think that Thomas would have invoked? See, that's why I don't understand how you're reading it like this. I gotta respectfully disagree with you, my friend, because I think if he wanted to change the rules, he would say this is what we need to do to update and live in 2021. So I don't think he's shy. He doesn't mince words. So that's why I think that he really is believer in stare decisis. And he's like, look, you can't just sit there making stuff up. And this is what this is what it is. And if Congress wants to change the law, so God bless, let them change it. But we got to go with stare decisis. And stare decisis says school has the right to make sure that they're controlling order and making sure that everything is going to be, and that they're having control here and respect from their students.
Do I have to pull up the document and find the spot?
Look,
no, no, I can't remember the exact spot, but there's a portion of the decision or his dissent where he says the court is unwilling to determine if these factors are important. And if the court is unwilling to determine if these factors are important, we have 150 years of case law on it.
Okay. So you're saying he would have set a list of rules as far as what should be factors.
I think he would have determined. I think if he were given the opportunity and if he could get the court to enter the analysis portion of it, he would say, maybe we come out on the same side, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. And one of those questions is the school acting in loco parentis? And that's in loco parentis for the chat means in lieu of your parents, basically. The school is acting as a parent because the parent is not there. The parent has entrusted their student to the school. One of the things Thomas brings up as a possible distinction, though, is that in loco parentis comes from a case in 1859, I think it was, and that is prior to mandatory public education. So back when this was decided, parents were literally giving their children to a school to act as the parent during the time that the child is at the school. Subsequently, we've decided that there is compulsory public education, and so you have to give your child to a school or provide some sort of schooling alternative. So Thomas is offering a place where the majority could make a distinction on in loco parentis. They chose not to engage in that questioning.
I think the concurrence from Alito and Gorsuch was basically doing a contrast and saying that the level of control, much as 150 years ago, we would have looked at the difference between the level of control a tutor who's coming in to visit a half hour a week would have compared to a boarding school, which is watching the kid 24/7 for 11 months a year, 150 years ago. So, and we would look at the control and level of authority that the school has based on what purpose you were hired for. How do you get your in loco parentis? Why are you standing in here? It's because you were given a function to educate the kid in some sort of way. And if your function to educate the kid is on a 24/7 basis because they're in boarding school, or their function is to be a half hour, someone teaching music for 45 minutes, every other Sunday, those are two completely different levels of authority that is being passed over from the parent to the school. And based on the amount of authority that the parent is passing over to the school, that should determine the level of control that the school has. So accordingly, when you're talking about people, when the parents are not passing them over to be in control on a weekend, so there's no basis for the school to have authority over the weekend. And that was why I think Alito and Gorsuch were saying you shouldn't have authority here.
Right. But that still doesn't address the question of involuntary or voluntary versus compulsory control, right?
Right.
And that is one of Thomas's criticism. Now, Mithran Emrys also says Thomas brought up a case from the 1800s where a school punished a student calling a teacher old, and that the school punished him. He is fine with punishing the student in that case. But again, I think it's important to focus on where Thomas focuses on what the difference between in loco parentis in the 1800s was and what that means today when you're not voluntarily handing your kid over to school.
But it's obligatory.
Right. And so, like you're saying, you've got boarding schools that are watching your kids for an entire school year. Mm-hmm. And parents get them in the summer, like some sort of divorcee. It's actually, like, a complete side note. It is baffling to consider the difference between 1800s and today. Like which do
you think was better? Which would you, if you had a choice of when to live, which would you prefer?
I would live today.
I think most people would. I actually asked this on my stream like 2 nights ago. I was like, if you could pick any time and any place to live, what would you choose? And most people said today, even though everyone thinks the world is completely screwed up today, which is a really
Yeah,
interesting dichotomy. Like we
it's
look at the
the
world and we're like, the world is so screwed up. And it's so terrible. It's so awful, so awful. Yeah. And I say, okay, if you could pick anywhere and any when to live, what would you choose instead? Some people came up with like weird stuff. Like I'd like to have been 20 years old during the Revolutionary War. I'm like, okay, yeah, you wanted to get your head shot off by some redcoat. That's what you really were. I
yeah,
mean,
that's
it's
a
very
bit strong. Well, I mean, when you think of like when you look at the life of Abraham Lincoln or whatever, like both his parents are dead by the time he's 9. He goes to live with an uncle who like
life
dies.
sucked.
Yeah, it was fucking terrible. Like you have siblings that live till they're 6 and they die of diphtheria and stuff like
yeah, exactly.
You got people dropping like flies.
Yeah, like 40%
like,
of your siblings are dead before they hit puberty.
Right.
Like,
and it seems like this time when everybody is rugged and tough. Well, they're rugged and tough because they're literally the only people that lived out of their families. And
yeah,
it's like,
oh my God, there's influenza again. Here comes the plague.
yeah, it's influenza. We're literally staying inside because the last time we had influenza, we lost 3 babies.
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Timmy broke his arm. Like now you break your arm, like a kid falls out of a tree and breaks his arm. It's like, oh, you go to the hospital, you post the pictures on Instagram. Back then, they broke their arm. They fucking die. They just die a week later. You're like, what the hell? It was, oh, well, you got sepsis. Yeah. You should have said, or if they don't die, their arm is like at a 90-degree angle until they're 38. And then they die from something else. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing compared to today where it's like, everyone is like, oh my God, Seth thinks I'm ugly. My life is over.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, to the people who believe they would want to live in the old times, I understand it. I get the idea, right? Like you think that you will be the one who survives, you will make it, and you are tough and stern or whatever. But you didn't have single child households in the 1800s because the parents were too busy to have a second child.
Right. Like, it's because of the graves of your siblings that are out backyard.
Yeah. You're suffering real loss in real time. And there are people who are okay with that. That's cool. But for me, look, I'll take air conditioning.
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going to go. We do not appreciate that weather was a massive thing anytime before like 100 years ago. A massive thing.
There's no air through the damn Dust Bowl.
The insulation in your houses were crap. It's basically in the winter, you're all sitting around the stove, huddling around there in your coats, praying to God you don't freeze to death. And then in the summer, you're basically like, it's like you're just literally angry and tired and hot all the time. And yeah, and then you got to go out to work for your 12 cents a day. You could buy your loaf of bread for a penny.
Your sleeping mat is covered in literal salt from your dried sweat.
Salt and roaches. Salt and roaches.
What about this?
It's like there are rats everywhere.
We had about as much volume of ink expended on the whatchamacallit, Generation X of cicadas as they had on boll weevils, just because the sheer volume of publications talking about cicadas.
I don't even know what the hell a boll weevil is, by the way.
It doesn't matter. Let me red pill you on boll weevils. They fucked up the entire country. A bug coming through a bug migration pattern ruined the economy for an entire several year period.
Really?
I was like, oh, well, you work in textiles. Sorry, bugs ate all the cotton.
Oh my God.
You're like, wait. So we're writing all these thoughtful articles on how you cook and eat cicadas because that's disgusting. They're writing articles about boll weevils because everybody's about to die because all of the crops, the breadbasket of the country is ruined. It's amazing. It's like the difference is stark and phenomenal. That's what I love about reading history personally, is like you go for a minute and you're like, God, it would be cool to live then. And you're like, but I wouldn't have a phone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I actually came up with, I said, you know what? I think I'd like to live in California and be like 25 years old in 1847. 2 years before the gold rush. So before everyone heads out there, I got like a head start.
There
on
wasn't
everyone
any.
else.
No, you don't want to be in the California gold rush. There's barely any gold there.
Oh, come on. Really?
No, really. It was all a sham. It was
so this is like your whole Australia thing. Is this what we're going through?
No. This is
Are you going to talk about the moon landing next? Is that where we're going?
The California gold rush was largely a failure. I believe there was an Alaskan gold rush that was a huge success.
Really?
And the California gold rush was people, like some guy found some gold and was like, yeah, this is going to be great. And then most of the people who moved out there didn't get shit.
Huh.
It was the California gold rush did not produce a lot.
So you're
of gold.
saying that was a scam to get people to migrate out west?
I don't know if it was a scam so much as it was just hype, but there's probably some prospector who's out there. He's like, oh yeah, there's gold in these hills.
There's gold in there down darn hills.
Yeah. That Bay Area, that San Francisco place with the shit weather year round. There's lots of gold there. Go over there, you gays. Like that. That's what happened. That's why California exists. It's like some guy's like, I got a real garbage deal on this Bay Area bullshit. We better make it important quick.
And apparently they actually really were poofy pants. That's why they end up in San Francisco. So are we demonetized yet?
This will definitely. Mithra and Emra says the in loco parentis aspect is too vague. Far better was the Third Circuit's school-owned, operated, and supervised channels. It addressed SCOTUS's concern about online learning and off-campus school events. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Does the school own the channel of communication? Are they in control of it? That's that again. I cannot see holding a student responsible for what someone else does. Right? Like at the end of the day, that's my big problem with the F Cheer case. Like, well, even Thomas's opinion, like someone could have retweeted it. Well, yeah, someone could retweet it. So does that mean we punish the student for what someone else does? I don't think so.
Okay, I'm gonna sidevert. I want to just pull you aside for a second, because when you were talking about the whole schoolhouse thing, it reminded me of a tweet I saw today, and I don't know if you saw it, and I want to share it with you.
I did not see it. I've barely been on Twitter today.
So I'm going to send it to you via DM.
Okay.
And you can pop this sucker open, because I think you're going to appreciate it. Here you go. Check this out. I want to get your thoughts on this. I totally want to get your thoughts. You got it. So it's there already.
There it is. Okay.
So I got a new field for you.
Yes. Okay. I like it already. I'm immediately a fan. Let me get it pulled up. Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to yawn. I hate yawning.
That's okay.
I don't want to. I never want to make someone else like the precipitous yawn. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't do that. I'm not like a sucker.
By the way, chat, did iDubbbz actually get married to that E-Thought? That's the one thing I did see on Twitter. Okay, so here we go. I've got it pulled up. It says, harmed by critical race theory, John O'Brien Esquire, personal injury and civil rights. Quote, he invented the practice area. 1866 Sue Woke. I love this guy immediately.
So I don't even understand what I'm trying to think, like, what that even really means, though. Apparently it's not a joke. It's actually really serious. Like, that's a real number. You guys can all don't dox him. He seems like a good guy. But yeah, I don't even understand.
I want to call this guy immediately.
Do it. Let's see what can you patch me in so I can hear it?
No, I'm not going to call. It's even at his time, it's 11:30 in the morning if he's on the West Coast. But no, or 11:30 in the evening. No, I think I might call this guy tomorrow and say, hey, will you please come on the show and explain what's going on? This guy sounds great,
doesn't he? I need to appreciate it.
No, I had no idea that this guy even existed.
Someone sent me that today, and I was like, I got to bring that up on one of my streams here, and I totally forgot about it.
Schoolhouse writes at Burns_law.
What do you think what do you think that even really means, though? Like, how are you going to sue someone because you were harmed by CRT? Like what's the cause of action? Can you actually even imagine what that would even mean?
He invented the practice area. I don't know.
What's your cause of what is the cause of action? I don't even know. I can't even imagine. I mean, kudos to him for coming up with something.
Yeah, I'm not getting I typed in BurnsO'BrienLaw.com to see if there was a website. There's not one.
So you think it's fake?
I don't necessarily think it's fake. You can have email addresses without actually.
So just call, see what happens. Just call, do it. Don't be afraid. Stop being a poofy pants.
I'm not going to call him in the middle of the day.
It's the middle of the night.
Schoolhouserights.com. Here we go. Let's see. If there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official high or petty can prescribe what should be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith therein. Okay. Civil rights litigation, fighting for students' freedom of conscience in public education and the parental right to guide and direct the upbringing of their children. This guy's based as hell.
Yeah, but my question is, what's the personal injury?
I don't know. Who cares?
Okay. I really want to find. I was like, did you win one case?
Look, did
you win one case?
I've got a threat letter that he sent in November 16th of 2020.
Oh, God bless you. See, this is what I bring to the show. There you go. And I just give it to you. I just give it to you. Go for it, brother.
Hold on, let me make it a little bigger for the chat here. Okay. It says, to whom it may concern. I am an attorney and representative of the Blank family. Blank is a student at your DPAC public school, and Blank is his mother. As you may be aware, Blank and his mother Blank objected on conscience to the content and programming of your Sociology of Change class on multiple occasions beginning earlier this semester. In meetings with DPAC senior officials and in writing beginning this September, the Blank repeatedly objected to the discriminatory content of the Sociology of Change class that served no apparent pedagogical purposes beyond ideological thought reform. Here's but one example of many from the DPAC Society of Change class materials, and he's got the reverse racism doesn't exist SpongeBob meme. As you may know, the Blanks are a biracial family. Blank's father, now deceased, is white. Blank also has a white parent. As such, they object to the glib racism of your course materials and programming, which includes statements in no apparent context like racism is what white people do to people of color, repeated ad infinitum. This and statements like it are patently racist, create a hostile and divisive educational environment, and violate Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, a law which you must now follow because you receive state and federal funds, and also because you are contractually obligated to follow it in your agreement with the Nevada State Public Charter Authority. There's the cause of action. That's what he suggested.
Title VI.
This is a violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Therefore, under that Civil Rights Act violation, we have created a private cause of action. You will pay, right?
I like it. Bring this guy on.
I'm calling him tomorrow. Mandatory participation in your Sociology of Change class requires reciting and affirming a predetermined and politically loaded worldview with which blank and blank cannot in good conscience abide. Upon information and belief, the teacher who taught this class explicitly discouraged disagreement, terminating class discussion when students objected to the consent to the class materials. Blank and his mother objected to his teacher repeatedly directing students in the Sociology of Change class to publicly profess their sexual, racial, and religious identities so that the teacher and others can scrutinize, interrogate, and label those identities in a derogatory manner. This is a long fucking letter.
Oh my God, yeah. It's
3 pages. I'm not going to read
honestly,
the rest.
Yeah, honestly, between you and me, he doesn't write that well, but
I don't care.
It's okay. Yeah. No, yeah, seriously, he's a kid. So
between you and me and the entire chat. Okay.
Don't tell him I said that. I mean, he writes okay. He's not terrible.
I'm gonna call Jonathan O'Brien. I might email him. Whatever. I'll try and get him on the show. This guy sounds great. Fighting against critical race theory in a practical capacity versus a theoretical capacity. I'm gonna sue the shit out of a school that does this. Sounds like he's out of Nevada. Title VI. Let's do it. Let's get him. Let's talk to him. Okay, Morty J says, little off topic, Nick, but did you happen to see the reporter from MSNBC call Bill Maher an old angry white man and that he should get with the times already? Made me laugh hard seeing them eat their own to oblivion. Yes. Bill Maher is an old angry white man.
Right, but because he's an old white man, it means his voice no longer matters. Didn't you realize that?
I don't know that Bill Maher's voice ever mattered to me. I get the joke, but I've always found him to be slightly unpalatable. Colfe 2A wannabe Hunan Muhammad says, Joe, balls or no balls on Israel?
Big ass balls.
If balls, the hairy or the non-hairy, YouTube won't let me put that in WTF. So, okay, so big balls on Israel, are they hairy or not?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
you've
seen Mediterranean guys. I mean,
we didn't have to go there.
I'm just saying they're covered. Their body, it's like they're like gorillas. I mean,
it's a 3-dimensional carpet. What do you think about, like, Netanyahu's out, right? And yep. they got a new guy in.
I think Bennett is his name.
I don't know who he is. What do you think about it?
I think he's a placeholder until Netanyahu comes back in 2 months.
You think how often do they? This is the thing I don't understand about Israel.
Yeah, they have a parliament, and you can have an election anytime you want. And this was a coalition that was put together solely for the purposes of getting rid of Netanyahu. And it's basically, imagine this. It's pretty much, imagine AOC teaming up with Matt Gaetz to get rid of someone they don't like. It's like, you'd be like, what? How did that, no, because they both hate Pelosi.
Every time I hear about another country's political process, it's
so much more bizarre.
I thank God I'm an American. I'm like, yes. Oh my God. Every 4 years is all we have to deal with this nonsense. Could you imagine being asked to go vote constantly? Like, oh, you got to vote for or against Bibi all over the place.
Yeah.
I was noticing this. I'm like, I don't know the first thing about the government of Israel, but what I do know is that they have elections at an alarming rate, and until now, Bibi has won all of them.
Yeah.
He's probably won. He's got to have a Guinness World Records for winning the most elections.
Yeah, seriously. Whoever his campaign manager is, and they had to bust their gut to try and get him out this time. They barely skinned by putting together this coalition. But this coalition, seriously, it's like you forming a coalition with Rashida Tlaib. I mean, because you're just like,
hey, Rashida girl, DM me. Let's coalition. We'll make it happen. We'll get unbased Pelosi out of there and see what happens next.
Yeah. So, but it's gonna fall apart soon.
All right, we've got. Let me go. I know you've been streaming a long time. It's 1:30 already my time, which means it's really late your time. Let's go ahead and wrap up this show. I'm gonna read the chats, and then we'll be done with this.
Do it.
Okay, we've got Crusader Saracen says, I think Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro are stupid neocon assholes. May Allah bring dark hours and disaster upon them. He also says, also good to see Good Logic back on the stream again. One of my favorite guests. May Allah bring good fortune to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you and thank Allah.
Yeah.
Were you bothered by that, by the way? What was your reaction to that?
To what? His Crusaders?
No. So I think it was someone in Congress or something like that. I don't remember. Someone in publicly basically like praised, said the Pledge of Allegiance, and they threw in, instead of one nation under Allah, with liberty and justice for all. And this became like a whole big thing. Like, can you believe that she said one nation under Allah? And my question is, do you give a damn about that? Is that something that you think is like so shocking?
No, I don't really care.
I think it's someone who's desperately trying to get attention, and they feel like, ooh, this will throw it back in the faces of you conservatives.
Yeah, it's like if you don't like it, don't pay attention to them.
And what about that athlete who basically turned away, who won her came in like second or third place?
Oh, I laugh at her.
You laugh at her.
She's third place in the Olympic trials.
Mm-hmm.
Gwen whatever.
Yeah,
And she's first of all, I hate anybody named Gwen.
obviously.
Not because I'm racist, but because I had
What do you mean? Gwen's not even a black name. She's probably the only black Gwen out there.
She's not.
She's not. You know other black Gwens.
I was harmed by a black Gwen.
Oh, here we go. Tell us the story. Tell us. Lay down. Lay down. Tell us your stories. I'll walk you through this, Nick. It's gonna be okay.
I grew up a poor black child in the city of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
In the city limits of Houston, Texas. I was not a privileged white in Houston. I did not live in River Oaks. I did not live in the Woodlands. I did not live in Conroe. I lived in the city limits proper. West Gulf Bank in Little York. And I lived near Acres Homes. In the 80s, one of the top 5 crime neighborhoods in Houston was literally within walking distance of my house. Okay. And I went to school with kids from Acres Homes, whose parents had probably been killed in a crack deal. Sorry, not coke. That's the white people drug. Crack deal. I was a minority. I was on par with the children from India. There were a comparable level of whites to Indian students in my elementary school. Primarily black. Next was Mexican. Then it's like whites and Indians and everybody else. Okay. And when I say Indians, I mean Indian, not Native Americans. We didn't have any of those because this is Texas. They've all been killed. All right. So setting the stage, my parents both worked and I had to go to daycare. Right.
By the way, I'm playing sad harmonica music in the background while you're telling this story. So I was hoping you could hear it playing through here, but apparently you can't.
So they sent me to a daycare, and the daycare was called America's Choice Daycare. I believe it's still actually there. And my teacher was Miss Gwen.
Oh, okay.
Miss
There
Gwen. She was a black lady. She is
Show me on the Fauci doll. On the Fauci doll, what she touched you, Nick?
I cannot eat Jell-O because of Miss Gwen.
What?
She force-fed me Jell-O as a child until I vomited.
You're serious?
I'm
You're really serious?
100% serious. Yeah, I literally cannot eat Jell-O. I don't like the texture of it.
Force-fed you Jell-O to punish you for not eating Jell-O or for throwing Jell-O? What did you do?
We had the the food, the meal or whatever. And she's like, you didn't finish your Jell-O. And I was like, I don't really want the Jell-O. She forced the spoon into my mouth until I gagged and threw up on myself. Then she made me, a 5-year-old, I believe at the time, clean myself up, right? Like I had,
oh my God.
and derided me for daring to gag and vomit on this. To this day, I cannot eat. I've tried to eat Jell-O and I can't do it. It makes me nauseous. The thought of it. She stole my Transformers. I brought Transformers to the daycare. My parents are like, oh, you got this cool Perceptor. It was Perceptor, or not Perceptor. Sorry. Perceptor was the Autobot. It was the Decepticon. There was 3 of them and they turned into a camera together. I don't remember what their name was, but it was a camera, Decepticon, and all 3 of them. She took them from me because I was playing with them at nap time. She told me my parents could get them back. When my parents showed up, she said, no, he didn't have any Transformers here.
What a
horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, that's a horrible woman.
This daycare, this was not to me, but to my sister who went there. They showed Cujo and Purple Rain to first graders.
What?
We're talking, this is the most ghetto-ass daycare on the planet, right? I have a aversion to women named Gwen because of Miss Gwen.
And you know what? I totally thought you were kidding. I totally thought this whole thing was a joke, but I believe it was all, now I believe it all serious. And you know what? I totally get it.
The worst part.
And I'm sorry for.
My sister and I, we're probably, she's older than me, and I was in my late 20s, I think. We were in Houston for a family reunion, and I was like, let's go buy America's Choice and see what's up, right? This is a daycare that's in a strip mall with a liquor store, and the next strip mall over has a strip club. Houston's best. It's the best city on the damn planet. Nobody can change my mind. I love this place. So we go over and we're walking around and we walk up and we look inside. It's closed because it's in the evening. And we look and we see the principal's office was always, you go in and it's just to the right.
Hmm?
Miss Gwen is the goddamn principal of the daycare now. I'm like, what? What? This woman was horrible to us. Oh my God. So I hate all women named Gwen, not just black women named Gwen, but all of them. But anyway, so this is stemming from Gwen, the now Olympian, right?
Mm-hmm.
She places third at the Olympic trials. She does not like the flag. She protests the flag, the American flag or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She says she doesn't hate America, just the flag, I guess. And she gets up on the podium, and during her medaling, the national anthem blares over the loudspeaker. It's like 5 minutes late. Or 6 or whatever from their normal thing. It blares over the loudspeaker, and she's like, it's because of me. They did it to me. That's why they did it. The Olympic Commission did this to me. And it's like, oh, okay, Miss Victim. Okay, Miss Victim.
So does it bother you, her representing the United States? Do you think that honoring the flag should be something that, or respecting the flag should be a mandatory element towards representing the United States?
To me, it's like the what's it? What
country? I'll tell you, I actually think you should. I think that's a reason to bounce her off. Now, I'm not saying we should bounce her off, but if there were, because I don't like the whole cancel culture, but I think the whole point is you're representing your country. If you don't believe in your country, what the hell are you doing out there?
There was a country at the last Olympics that was not welcome. I can't remember who it was. Might have been Iran or something. But they let their athletes compete under a neutral flag, like a non-country flag. I don't think that's right. I don't think they should do that. I think the Olympics is a choice. You're making that choice. You are carrying with you the nation that you bring to the Olympics. And if you are in protest of that nation, well, I'm sorry.
Right.
You don't get to compete. Because to me, I'm such a cuck for Malcolm Gladwell. Gladwell talked about this with I think it was
Gladwell again.
It was Princeton. It was Princeton, right? Where what's his face? Woodrow Wilson was the dean before he became president. Was it Princeton or Stanford? I think it was Princeton. And there's a building named after Woodrow Wilson, and there were a bunch of students protesting him because Woodrow Wilson was a horrific racist, right? Okay. And they wanted to change the name of the building, and the board said no. And Gladwell interviewed the student, and he's like, "Well, what are you gonna leave the school?" And she's like, "No, of course not." He's like, "Wait, you're protesting the school, but you're not willing to leave it? Like, that's not a protest."
That's just like, I'm angry. I'm angry. Listen to me. I'm angry. But so to me, there is nothing that has a mirror between, or has, aside from perhaps serving the armed forces, there is nothing where an individual is representing their country, unless they're an elected official or appointed, in the government or something like that. There is no situation where an individual has a nexus with their country like the Olympics.
Nothing.
For athletes, there's nothing in the world like it. And that's why, if you don't respect that nexus, if you don't appreciate or want that nexus, no one cares. What does everyone say? No one says how many Olympic medals did Gwen Brooks win. It's how many medals did America win? How many medals did Germany win? It's all about you're competing on behalf of your country. There's pride. That's why they're playing your national anthem when you get up there. It is all about countries competing against each other, putting up their best athletes. That's why it's the American team in gymnastics or whatever.
Right.
Because, and yes, there's individual respect. But at the end of the day, it's all about the country. And if you're going to spit all over Old Glory, I say, walk off, get out. You're not representing me. You don't give a damn about Americans or American values. You just want to stand up for yourself. You're an individual. You're a selfish little spoiled punk. And take a hike. I don't need you.
Yeah, well, because when the Greeks started it, it was about the city-states. It was the city-states competing.
Yeah, it's Athens versus Sparta, and
and Thebes and whatever.
And Rhodesia.
Yeah, I don't know about Rhodesia.
So don't get in my way.
Look, I heard Rhodesia lost to a different breed of people than the Greeks, but no, it's yeah,
It was about the moops. That's what it was. Everyone knows this. This is basic history. What's wrong with you people?
That was yeah. It's this idea because you are a product. That's the whole thing about the Olympics in a way, is you are the product of that society, which means you're benefiting from the economic system.
Mhm.
You're benefiting from the training that's available. You're benefiting from the cultural traditions. This is why American men do not win gold medals in soccer. We get our asses kicked because Brazil and Germany and England and France and Italy, they're all way better. They're all way better because they value those traditions more than us. This is why Americans do well in shooting events. It's like, look, if you put the shooting event in a nightclub,
This is why this.
Look, I hit 75 targets.
Yeah. No, this is why we suck at skiing, but we're great at snowboarding, because that's basic. Because
right, exactly. We invented it.
Yeah,
we invented all this stuff. But no, it's why the Russians are good at trampoline and gymnastics, right? Like they value, Russians have always valued ballet, gymnastics. These things have been parts of their culture. That beautiful sort of Russian body type and body line are part of the ballet culture. That's why Russian women are hot. They're all fucking thin. They're all trying to be ballerinas, even when they're 6 feet, which makes them even hotter. That's the best part.
You think Russian women are attractive?
Listen, Joe, we're not going to argue about this because I'll win.
No, they have the round face. Really? I feel like I've broken your heart just now by raising this question.
You've not broken my heart by being wrong. That's okay.
I don't even understand what the heck you're talking about. I mean Russians, really? I picture, when you say Russian women, I picture fat babushka. I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even. Maybe you had some sort of high school story.
That's like saying Latina women aren't hot because of abuela or
No.
abuelita.
No, because there you're dealing with a certain skin tones, which add to the overall appearance.
I don't give a damn about skin tones. No, listen. Russian women have a long, lean frame from years of communist starvation, and it's beautiful. I love it. I am pro-communism when it comes to building out long and lean, attractive women. Like, I will Holodomor everybody to get some more Victoria's Secret angels in this beach. Look, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of people for attractive women.
And then it's very noble of you. It's very, very noble. Because you're looking for the betterment of mankind, and that we can appreciate the rare exotic beauty who comes out from Scandinavia. So
no, Eastern Europe and Russia, they've got a look to them. I'm into it. It's cool. It's cool. Not everybody has to be.
It's the Polish blood. That's what it is.
Not everybody has to be.
So wait, you
some
think
people
that
can like short, fat women. I just don't.
No, I'm saying you think that if you had to choose, I can't believe I'm having this conversation right now. If you had to guess, if you saw an attractive woman, you had to guess Germany versus Russia, you would guess Russia.
Most of the time, yeah.
Sweden versus Russia, you're going to go Russia.
Swedish chicks have kind of an idealized blonde, tall thing, but they're mostly not.
French versus Russia.
It depends, because I know what French women do.
Okay. I think I got to wrap this stream up right now.
Well, I was trying to read chats, and then you distracted me with Russian women.
No, we were talking about Olympics, and I apologize. I'm sorry. Oh, gosh.
The chat is going nuts. I love it. Okay, sorry. Critical Orc Theory says Moriah was dug on the backs of indigenous goblin slaves, and Helm's Deep was a fiery but peaceful protest. That's true. That's true. Moria, the Mines of Moria, not Moriah, Moria. That one guy says, hey, Joe, is it true that practicing Orthodox Jewish people kick their wives out of their house during their time of the month? If so, how can I date a young practicing Jewess? Lol, love you, buddy.
We don't kick him out of the house.
That's a artifact of the Old Testament, right? Like they had the menstrual tents where women would go and gather.
No. I'll make it very simple. And this is something that, you know, to this day, basically in Jewish marriages, during that, there is a period for which basically, you know, is going to last like a week to 2 weeks, when she's going through her cycle, that she will basically stay in another bed. She won't sleep in your bed. But as far as kicking him out of the house, no. Or I've never heard of a menstrual tent.
But that
sounds kind of funny.
It's in it's in the Torah.
No, it's not.
Well, it's in the Old Testament, wherever.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it ain't. They basically say that when your wife is menstruating, that you're basically not supposed to, you're not supposed to engage her sexually. But
I'm gonna find menstruation tents in the Old Testament.
Okay, so listen. Oh, here we go.
The actual red tent where Dinah and the four wives of Jacob would go during their periods in childbirth is a place for laughing about the follies of men while still being subjugated to their will.
Well, I don't. You know what? I
nailed it.
I don't know what it says in King James.
Let's see.
When you refer to Old Testament, I've studied Torah. I haven't studied Old Testament like you guys do with your King James. So, you know, whatever Christian thing that they change things up a little bit here. I'm just telling you what reality is in Jewish life.
Look, I don't care if it's Old Testament or not. Whoever decided that to kick women out of the house for a week while they were being pissy is the smartest man on the planet.
Genius. It's genius.
God said, get the hell out. I've got a tent. It's got straw for you to bleed over and complain about. Get out of my house. Oh my genius. God, woman. Okay, sorry. That one guy says the reason anti-Jewish sentiment is a thing on the internet chat rooms and message boards is that the goal of the internet is to make other people angry for one's own entertainment, i.e. trolling. It comes with anonymity. It is largely not sincere. Just ignore them.
I wasn't offended. Did you think for a second I was like bothered by it? I was like, I don't even know. Is it trolling?
I didn't get the impression you were offended at all.
I think it's funny. It's like, ooh, this is gonna get him. Ooh, I wrote the word Jew. I'm like, really?
I wish more people thought I was chosen by God.
There you go.
Nick Ricadestein says, "Oy vey, how did the goyim figure out that I am Jewish? Was the lawyering, banking, and large schnoz really enough to give it away?" Crusader Saracen says, "May Allah bring dark hours and disaster upon Brett Kavanaugh. More dark hours and disasters, that is." He also says, "Say, Joe, have you ever seen or noticed the long metal wire perimeter that Orthodox Jews put up around New York City?"
Yes.
Oh, is that?
It's not around New. It's not around. They wouldn't put it in New York City like Manhattan proper, but yeah, it's too long to explain.
Okay, no, that's fine. Mr. Security says, "Don't worry, Nick. I wore blackface in the 5th grade, a school full of whites. We did something called Famous Faces in school, where we did a speech on a famous person. I did Jackie Robinson, and I wasn't the only white kid in blackface that day. I'm 23 now. Never tell anyone else that under your real name ever.
Seriously.
Like in all honesty, it's a shame that I have to say that, but don't do that to yourself."
Yeah, I'm just glad I wasn't the person who dressed up like, in 2008 on Purim. I saw someone, because I never would have ever done such a thing ever.
Yeah, I'm glad someone else did that. By the way, we are 50 likes from 1,000 likes, and my cup is empty. Bepsi Man says, "Hey, Nick and Joe, I hope you're getting enough sun. You've been streaming all day. And Nick, could you please check on Vic? He seemed pretty down on the stream on Tuesday. I hope he didn't catch any heat for being on your very, very gay show." You know what? That show.
I saw him on that show. He looked so sad. He just looks so broken.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years of people hating on you, two and a
Yeah.
half years of your friends, really your friends hating on you, and that's the trick.
He seems like he has like this forced smile where he's like trying to laugh, and it was just like it was heartbreaking. It's so terrible what they did. They're evil people, such evil people that they're trying to torment his life. I felt so bad for him.
They're very evil people, but I've spent a decent deal of time with Vic over the past 2.5 years in person, and I will tell you that there is still a good amount of hope and joy in that man.
I will tell you, his rendition of Captain Kirk was amazing. Like he's the only one from that show that actually made me forget sometimes that they were different people, because there was a resemblance. His takeoff of William Shatner's portrayal of Captain Kirk was spot on and far better than like the rest of his cast. And the show in general was really enjoyable. I happen to really like it.
Yeah, the writing of the show and the shooting styles and all that stuff is it's really well done.
Yeah.
I never have the heart to tell him that I really can't stand most of the other actors' performances. I'm like, oh my God.
That is so not Leonard Nimoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is not.
And I like the guy who played Leonard Nimoy. Fun trivia. So the guy who played Scotty for the first three the doctor. The guy who played
Doctor who switched over after that.
Yeah. The second guy
was better.
No, he hates me.
Really?
Yeah, he does not like me at all.
Why does he hate you?
A whole lot of reasons, but he basically says that the blood of a bunch of anime fans will be on my hands. But that's another story for a different day. I'll tell you in private sometime. I'll call you and tell you the whole story. But
yeah, please do.
It's that guy. He does not like me at all. It's great. Okay, federal unemployment tax says in Trump voice, "Hey Joe, should the Federal Unemployment Tax Act, a beautiful act, wonderful act, passed by a great Congress, be dispensed from two receptacles for the Federal Unemployment Tax Act? Have you heard of this? You know about this, Joe?"
I have no idea.
Wonderful,
what the hell that means.
big receptacles. You got to have giant receptacles.
Giant.
I've never seen such beautiful receptacles. Have you heard about the stupidity of IKEA serving fried chicken and watermelon on Juneteenth? Did you hear about that? That's a real thing that happened. On Juneteenth, IKEA, the Swedish furniture store that serves meatballs and lingonberries.
No way.
They serve fried chicken and watermelon.
Wow.
I only wish I went.
Somebody got fired. Got fired.
I'd have been digging in the watermelon, eating all that fried chicken. I said, "Oh Lordy, I loves me some watermelon." Bad Dragonite says
By the way, you hit 1,000 likes, so you got to take this.
I've got it right here. I've got it.
There you
Here
go.
it is.
He's all ready to go.
Bad Dragonite says the Gold Rush and Oregon Trail hype were actually state-sponsored in order to lay claim to the land before European nations could, due to the nature of how land claim law worked. If your country had citizens living within so much area, it was claimed, if I recall. Maybe. Maybe. Next, Mike Hunt says, PSA, 40K was heavily influenced by 2000 AD magazine. If you love 40K, read 2000 AD, especially ABC Warriors and Nemesis, the origins of the chaos religion. Stug says, "Hi, Nick. Been a fan for a while, but I always have to catch the re-uploads because you're so late and prideful. Now I have to sleep. Good night." Hey, good night, buddy. Platonic Guardian says, "How does a lawyer not like debating?" Address that. BLP E-Rock says, "Ben Shapiro is the most brilliant guy I've seen who is always wrong." Not applicable says, "Based is kind of a valueless meme. Specifics, please." Not applicable also says, "Ads and recommends are straight gaslighting on YouTube." And he finally says, "Matt's also an authoritarian, not super helpful." Yeah, that's likely, like I said, where the dissent from me comes from on Matt Walsh. Ira Gershwin says, "Joe, Tim Pool is expanding. Apply to be his legal guy."
Is he looking to expand?
I have no idea. What do you think of Tim Pool? Uh-oh.
I don't have a terrible opinion of him.
I don't
I
have a
think he's
terrible of opinion of him either.
I think he's okay. I think his gig is so easy. His gig is so freaking easy.
I think he's overrated.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he basically, what does he do? He just takes a news article and reads it, and he spends 20 minutes talking about it, and or, you know, and he, what the hell does he do? I'm like, how the hell is this guy became like
Make $1 million a year easily?
doing nothing? Like he literally does nothing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm trying to talk like him right now. Exactly, you know, this is, you know, how he breaks it down, and I just don't get
He
it.
nails it. Props to him for figuring it out. I don't really understand it. I respect the grift 100%. I think he does a great job doing
If he
thing,
needs a lawyer, I think I'm a good match for him.
there you go.
Because I'm not in case you didn't realize, I'm not monetized. So you really need to go to goodlogic.locals.com.
You got did dirty.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. But we haven't. I got really screwed.
Yeah, guys, Joe applied for monetization on YouTube, something that he definitely should have.
Mm-hmm.
He's met all the requirements, and they determined that his content was too dangerous.
I am controversial and potentially dangerous to viewers, potentially harmful to viewers. So
how many viewers have you harmed, Joe?
Yeah, that's I came out and apologized to my audience for all the harm I inflicted upon them, and the damage and suffering that I caused them. But yeah, they're very, so yeah, I'm left shilling. I'm left shilling on my locals and Patreon.com also, which I know everyone hates Patreon because of what they
not everybody hates Patreon
because of what they did to Carl Benjamin. But you hate him, right? You can tell me. It's okay.
I half hate him. I don't like that they censor anybody. I think it's a little more complicated though. But look, Joe, I wouldn't
you gotta survive, right?
I wouldn't even rape you, mate. I wouldn't even rape you, Joe. I wouldn't do it.
Were you on the stream when I said that? I was like, I'm gonna stay. Is that what you're bringing up? Are you referencing Eric?
No,
Huntley?
I'm referencing Carl Benjamin saying I wouldn't even rape you to Jess Phillips.
Oh,
like that's what did him in. Well, that and the white N-word comments, but
oh yeah, because
you're acting like Huntley. A white N-word, Joe. Joe N-word.
Yeah. I think that's we've circled back and gone the whole way through. At the end of Eric Huntley last week, basically, I think were you on the stream with Eric Huntley last Friday?
Yeah, and I'll be on there tomorrow too.
Yeah, you're gonna be with me tomorrow again.
If I can wake up.
At the very end of it, I was like, I mentioned how Patreon hasn't fingered me yet as being a bad person, and that was how we ended the stream, where I was trying to explain what I meant.
And I think there are very few people that Patreon actually go after, and I that's why I said I think it's a little more complicated because I think they're taking their marching orders from someone, MasterCard or Visa or whoever it is, and I don't think that that's proper. But I don't know personally that Patreon is as evil. I still have a bunch of people on Patreon. I would love it if they all moved to locals and nobody used Patreon, but they won't do it, and so. What do you do with that, right? Like, what do you do?
You got to go where you're gonna get your grift.
Yeah.
So.
Look, I am all for taking money. Noir777 says you should take a shot for my birthday. I've taken several. Theophrastus 3.0 says knew a fun Jewish family in high school. They had a Christmas tree, but every decoration in it was non-religious, and the stars were six-sided. Xander's Rant says, remember when you promised an anime stream 3 years ago? I've done an anime stream in the past 3 years, and we may have another one soon.
What is an anime stream?
I don't know. A stream where I bring on people to talk about anime, something that I am woefully unqualified to discuss.
I thought that you dress up like an anime character.
No, God. Oh, Jesus. Joe.
I thought it was going to be like a Comic-Con type of thing where you're
Joe, I'm going to turn you Catholic just to say, Jesus Christ, Joe, no.
I thought that'd be the most amazing thing. I'd tune in for that. I'd tune in.
Yeah.
You're going to dress up like Sailor Moon or something. You and that pseudo Korean guy.
The only
The
Sailor
British
Moon
guy.
I will dress up as is my Sailor Moon shirt that I wore on my thought stream, and that's it. Shakaval says, get checked for sleep apnea. I don't have sleep apnea. I have narcolepsy. Not applicable says, if there's no police, who enforces the writ? Good question. The writ of mandamus. Matthew Harder says, Nick, I have a few Jewish friends, but I'm always awestruck that they have relatives in major politics, banks, and media. Come on now. Stop it. Theophrastus says, my favorite line from Fiddler on the Roof, when he's speaking to God, says, I know, we are your chosen people, but once in a while, can't you choose someone else? Great line there. Onyx Robot says, I love how the Pennsylvania Supreme Court was a bastion of truth during the election time, but now people want their throat over Cosby. It's great. Yeah. Angry Bellsprout says, so how black is Sean King? What percentage of black do you think Sean King is?
What? Snow J. Simpson? Is that who we're talking about?
Talcum X.
Yeah. Talcum. Oh, yeah. I think he's probably around the same percentage that Liz Warren is.
Yes, I think so.
Indian.
We could call it the driven snow percentage of black. Persona non grata says, Nick, I'm sneaking out of your live stream to watch Jackcast. I'll be back, most likely not. Peace and love to you and the family. We was Kangs, brudda. Yeah, the Jack Show runs on Thursdays, which is a shame. I hate competing with the Jack Show. Not applicable says, amazing how badly people wanted to live back then. Derek Debish says, I choose to live today. Our ancestors fought the battles of their time and gave us the world we have. It's our responsibility to do the same in our time and future generations. Mr. Security says, there's more gold in the Black Hills of South Dakota than the entire state of California. Only good thing the California gold rush was the invention of blue jeans. Thank you, Levi's. Mike Hunt says, Nick, Berserk creator, died if you didn't know. FYI, never heard. What's Berserk? Never heard of it. Jared says, what about Jello shots? I hate them. I really hate them.
I feel so guilty that I made you relive that trauma all over again.
Dude,
like I thought this was going to be like a funny story, and the next thing I know, you're like genuinely weeping. That was depressing.
I specifically do not shit on childhood trauma because I have one.
Because of Gwen.
It is the dumbest thing in the world. Like, I know, right? Like, I know that Jell-O is just a tiny amount of sugar and water and gelatin, like some horse kneecaps. It doesn't bother me. Nothing about Jell-O is bad to me. I like all of those things. I like collagen. I like everything about Jell-O. Except when I go to eat it, my body reflexively wants to gag. And I don't throw up. I don't. I have eaten Jell-O and I cannot throw up, but I hate the experience. I hate every second of it. And so I really don't shit on people with childhood traumas because I realize that they're a real thing. Yeah. Like, and it's not like
that seed gets planted and you can't just erase that.
Yeah. And the person doesn't want it. It's not like they want it. It's like I have tried to overcome it. I haven't tried that.
I'm just relieved you didn't become Dexter as far as we know. Like, I haven't tried with his childhood trauma.
Let's not talk about that. I haven't told you about the blood fetish of Miss Gwen. No, but I haven't tried that hard because I don't have, like, Jell-O's not like steak, right? Like, if I had a childhood trauma on steak, I would overcome that shit in a heartbeat. But yeah. Mike Hunt says, don't like Jell-O, you must be a Vegemite guy. Andrew War Snowbird says, don't speak, Miss Gwen knows what you're thinking. Nate the lawyer says, you guys still up? We are. It's unfortunate. We're trying to finish for poor Joe's sake here. Eric D says, real love was me eating 3 helpings of grandma's Jell-O at Thanksgiving because she had dementia. I hate Jell-O. Cosby's worst crime equals selling Jell-O. Jared says, we suck at soccer because our best athletes play football and basketball. That's true. The bad thing is, it's actually, we suck at soccer. We suck at soccer because our second best athletes play football and basketball. That's why we really, if we took,
what are our first best athletes?
If we took this, they play soccer and basketball, or they play football and basketball.
Oh, okay.
But so do the second and third best. If we took the raw athleticism of the second tier of basketball and football
Oh,
players.
I see what you're saying. You're saying like the top 4 places of players are all playing basketball and football.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If we took the raw talent and athleticism of the second tier people playing the top level sports and put them into soccer, we would crush the entire fucking planet in soccer. Could you imagine? Like, could you imagine the American soccer team that is made up of literally the B squad of every NFL team? Oh my God, they would destroy a bunch of little prissy Frenchies running around like 135 pounds with their arms up, being just destroyed by 215-pound black men who can run marathons. It's scary. It's terrible. They'd all be like 6'6". They'd be jumping up for headers.
The Russians aren't good at soccer, though. You know, and
Russia's pretty good at soccer.
Yeah, I mean, compared to like Italy, Germany, all these other, you know,
Russia beats they beat the brakes off the U.S. in soccer.
Okay, fine. Yeah, because we're sending our 20th tier athletes out there to play soccer.
Yeah.
You know, but what I'm saying is, and they play a lot more soccer in their youth in Russia than
I'm just saying if we
let's face it, if you're in Russia, all you can buy is a soccer ball. You can't afford anything else.
Imagine if we had a bunch of inner city youths. They're all the black guys who are just too short to play basketball because they're only 6'4". Right. running marathons back and forth across the field. It'd be embarrassing. Like the Brazilians would be like, we can only get to 5'8". What the fuck are we supposed to do against these guys? This is not possible. How do they have a genetic super crop out here? Oh my God. It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. Mike Hunt says Jews like Asians, not Russians. Prove me wrong.
Asians.
Apparently. Yeah.
We eat a lot of Chinese food, so.
I love dumplings, man. There are no good dumplings in my area. There are no good dumplings in Minnesota. Prove me wrong. Austin Kaiser says the Russians forced all the handsome, hunky German prisoners to breed with them and created a new generation of Ubermensch women. Peter Pete says, I wear blackface every day. I'm a black man. I guess I'm going to be canceled soon. Rip me. Yes. Yes. Scarvy the Strange says, at least you didn't take a picture with a Klansman, unlike one Virginia governor and one American Idol contestant. Don't forget that guy. The Pro NATO says Tim Pool is sincere. That's already better than all of the mainstream media. No, Tim's figured it out. I think his sincerity is a big help. Big help there.
I want you to know, I'm going to tell you a stream. When I first was demonetized, it really was very demoralizing. When I was denied monetization, it was very demoralizing. So I reached out to a couple of my YouTube friends, and Nick said, sorry, I'm busy like smoking a stogie over my 165,000 followers, so I can't really I don't have time for you.
I can't talk to you, plebeian. I have monetization to worry about.
Right. No. But Robert Gruler, actually, I had never spoken to him before, other than like a couple of exchange DMs, you know, where I was like expressing admiration for his work. And he was like, I asked him, how do you survive without monetization? And he like was amazing in that he said, give me a call. And I ended up spending like an hour on the phone with him talking about it. And he actually gives a course on how lawyers can use social media to strengthen their stuff that he actually just gifted me. I don't know if I should have said that. Can we undo that? But he was like,
I'll delete it in post.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
No, Robert's a good dude. He's great.
No, but he was really amazing and really supportive and yeah, that's part of our community. It's like our little community of our circle here is that we actually, you know, tend to give a damn unless you're not monetized and you're trying to get from Nick Rekieta, in which case.
Look, I only give a damn about people that Susan approves. Come on.
I can understand that. It's like I have like I have YouTube leprosy.
Yeah. You read Torah. Get out. Get out of my village.
No, but no. So I did want to express my gratitude to Gruler for that, and I don't remember where I was starting when I came up with this. You were talking about something which was remotely relevant to this, and
it's okay.
I don't remember.
Super Iron Bob says Joe has suggested the next thought stream, Sailor Blackface. The
Nice.
Pro-NATO says cosplay stream from the hot tub when? Literally never. Although I believe I will be, I said this yesterday and I'm going to say it again. I believe I will be in the beta program for Locals live streaming. I'll let you guys know. If we do get a Locals live stream, there's going to be some good live exclusive content coming to Locals. But do not sign up for Locals on the promise of live stream content. I don't even know if I'm in the program yet. So when that happens, I will announce it. DCV Titan says the best part of Talcum X claiming to be black is that he literally throws his mom under the bus and claims she had an affair with a family friend. Awful. Okay, and then there's just a couple more. Where were we? Critical Orc Theory says Middle Earth meritocracy can't exist because of systemic racism against orcs and elf privilege. Hashtag eat the hobbits. Hashtag orc lives matter. Hashtag free Saruman. Reese1 says, hey, Nick, book I sent has arrived via mail. Canada Post tracking number is blah. I sent the email on the 23rd. According to the tracking info package, is there awaiting pickup? Please check it tonight if possible, as book was pulled from shelves. I can't check it tonight. I'll check it tomorrow, though. He also says, okay, Nick, according to USPS, the book as of June 28th, available for pickup. Book is called The Beautiful Poetry of Donald Trump. I have found daily pleasure and believe that it could be awesome to recite during a related stream. Okay. Bad Dragonite says, does Joe root for America or Israel in the Olympics? If they go head to head, lol, good show, guys.
That was pretty funny.
What do you vote? What do you root for?
I don't even vote. I don't even root for Israel if it was like Israel versus England. Like like why I don't even understand the question.
There you go. Joe's the most anti-Israel Jew on the planet.
Damn Zionists. Yeah.
Yeah. Crusader Saracen says, personally, I think the metal wire perimeter in New York shows why Jewish people tend to make such great lawyers. Y'all literally get God on technicalities. Cool.
Well, that's actually someone who understands the Jewish wire, because the Jewish wire thing is a way around a restriction having to do with the Sabbath. And it really is. That's what it is. It basically, you're not supposed to be I'll wrap it up in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be carrying outdoors on the Sabbath, unless you're in like a solo, unless it's like one entity, and that's the poles with the wire around this called an erev, and an erev basically treats the community as if it's all one household, and that's what enables you to carry on the Sabbath from like one house to another, and that's why those poles are there. So it is basically using a technicality to get a technical loophole to like basically get around that prescription.
That is fucking beautiful. Kool-Aid Man says, oh yeah, shout out to a man that practices the Jewish faith. I banged a few Jewish mommies in my life and have seen the shofar, and one of my gripes against Tim Pool is he's not banging Lydia. I've applied so I can blow her back out as a gentleman should. Fuck the IRS says in Trump voice, we need to destroy the IRS and the NSA. They are both horrible agencies. And Joe would give you, Joe, would you give Nick Jim Beam military special, Jack Daniels, and Fireball to repeal the 16th Amendment?
You really got that nailed. That's really impressive.
Would you do it, Joe? Joe, would you do it? The terrible whiskeys. Have you seen these whiskeys? Look, I don't drink, but I know people who drink. I met a lot of people who drink. Shared lots of drinks with lots of people, but I don't drink. Joe, would you give those whiskeys to Nick Rekieta to repeal the 16th Amendment on taxation, income taxation?
That's really impressive. God bless.
Joe, what's your opinion on the Cyrus the Great on the Jewish people? Ooh, Cyrus the Great. The what the fuck are they? He was the one of the early civilizations to basically enslave the Jews, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure who Cyrus the Great is. So I probably know him by like a Hebrew name, and I'm not sure what that translates as. Cyrus. What nationality was he from?
It's something that starts with an A. I believe Cyrus the Great. I typed in Cyrus. I got Cyrus Vance Jr. Fucking hell. Cyrus the Elder by the Greeks. The Achaemenid Empire, the first Persian Empire.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Bad Dragonite says, speaking of your Transformers, I found my 1980s Jetfire figure. Oh, you son of a bitch. The one that started as a Macross Super Valkyrie Fire. I know. I had it. It's worth so much money. And I as a kid, because I was a dumbass, I took him out of the box, and my parents threw away the box with all the Super Valkyrie armor. I just literally had the Jetfire and none of the cool plastic additions because it got thrown away in the box. And then that's it. That's the stream. That's the stream, Joe. We went way longer than I anticipated. I apologize for keeping you awake.
You don't have to apologize. So I've just been on the air for the last 7 hours, literally. And but as long as I helped you get your 1,000 likes, and that streak wasn't broken, that was the key for me.
It is still a streak. I'm gonna have to buy a vest.
How long is your streak going on that? Do you know? Do you actually keep up with that?
No idea. J-Bone says Cyrus the Great freed the Jews from the Babylonian captivity and sent them back to Israel. There you go.
All right.
I was way wrong on that.
I was wondering. I don't remember hearing about anyone who was tyrannical named Cyrus the Great. So
yeah, I can't remember who. Well, look, Joe. He's a Persian emperor who freed the Greeks and freed the Jews and sent them back. That doesn't mean he wasn't tyrannical. He was a Persian emperor. The man was an absolute asshole to everybody else. Cyrus the Great was an absolute cockbag to most of the world. Just he sent the Jews home. That's all. Let's be. Yeah. He respected the customs and religions of the land he conquered. Yes, because that was very easy to keep people in line when you respected their. Never mind. We're not going to talk about it. We're talking about BC world rulers. They're all fucking bad in some way.
Yeah, I think it's literally 300 BC you're describing here.
In Hebrew, they call Cyrus Koresh. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, guys, go follow Good Logic on.
Yeah, for crying out loud, Jesus! I'm up for 7 hours straight streaming here. I'm sitting here. I'm doing my freaking debate against Robert Barnes, like the Human Encyclopedia. Then I'm doing my own stream. You know, I actually had someone on tonight on my stream. You probably, I might have asked you the legal mindset. Did we cover that already? I don't remember.
We talked about it off stream.
Oh yeah, the legal mindset. So he seemed like a pretty good guy. His name was Andrew Esquire. And then I come 3 hours here with you, and this was amazing fun.
Yeah, guys, go follow Joe. He streamed today almost as much as I streamed the other day. On Friday when I streamed for well over what this.
And then I have to be up in 11 hours. I got another stream with Eric Hunley.
Yes, so do I. And I've got a couple hours of Twitch to follow this. So
I don't know. You're crazy.
I am. I'm very wrong. I should really cancel my Twitch show tonight, but I'm not gonna.
Are you watching a movie or like what? What's
playing a game? It's a game night. All right. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next time. You know, I do not play the outro when I have a guest on because I'm too lazy to set up the outro on a separate audio channel. So I'll see you over on Twitch. You guys have a good night. Peace.
Godspeed.
Peace.